his skills, his mindset. So I think that is where you should focus on yourself. And again, there is no reason why everybody should go for a venture capitalist funding or anything. Guys, family businesses are one of the best. Manchiga double తీసుకోవాలి జేబులో పెట్టుకొని Mercedes నడిపేయాలి. That is one of the best businesses to get into. No reason why we need to have investors.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Any other questions? Can we pass on the mic to the back?
I'm Stanley, sir.
Few in the back as well. Yeah, please.
I'm Stanley. My question is, what are the fundamental concepts that we have to learn before starting a business?
I think, like I said, the fundamental concept is you should be a domain expert. If you are a guy who understands textile perfectly because you've been working in that domain, I think that is one of the industries you should get into. You need to be very thorough in terms of identifying where is the gap in the industry, what is the problem, and how are you going to give a solution to that. Unless until you know this, you jumping into a domain will actually backfire you. And the second important point is you have to be very excited and passionate about whatever you're doing. Because this journey is so terribly bad, so lonely and so stressful that if you're not enjoying what you're doing every day, you will give up eventually. And that will happen. See, I gave up while I was doing Dial Me Guru because it was technology based. I didn't know any ABCD about it. But F&B, I know everything. So I have to be passionate about what I'm doing, because when the stone is hit on me and I'm going through a bad phase, my passion will drive me. कि भाई थोड़ा और कर ले, निकल जाएंगे इसमें से. So that is important. Thank you. Yes.
Afternoon, sir. I'm Laksh.
Hi, Laksh.
First thing, I love your product. Amazing.
Thank you.
So one thing I'd ask is about the sharks. I'm sure the sharks must have been really nice, but who do you think got you an edge over the others? Who helped you the most? And the other thing is, does Skippy plan anytime to go public? Anytime soon?
Okay, first part of the question, who's my favorite shark? Something similar to that. I always say, जिसने भी invest किया वो सब मेरे favorite है. ठीक है.
ऐसे दो favorite बन जाओ.
You know, everybody has a different perception, the way they see Skippy, the way they talk, and the way they pursue their thought processes. Ashneer is a man of numbers. Piyush is a man of vision. Anupam is a man of all industries. He understands business in and out. Namita understands how to scale up businesses because she comes from a strong business family. So Vinita has got a different perception because she herself is a startup today. So everyone has a very different view about a problem and a solution towards it. I think I cannot categorically say who's my favorite or not. Whether Skippy will become an IP or not, whether we'll go public or not, I think it's too early to talk about that now. We are just growing as a startup. 4 to 5 years down the line, like I said, if you are achieving the 1,000 crore number, then why not? But at the moment, I think it's a dream too far for now. Thanks.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Dhiren. I wanted to ask, what does a person do when he fails in his business? Like, failure is something which almost happens to everyone. It's not like you succeed in your first business. So where do you go from there? How do you get back into the race?
See, I think one of the most important points that people tend to avoid is face the failures. I face it very strongly. Honestly, like I told you, आपको building का watchman भी ज्ञान देगा. I had to go and face everybody in my family, my friend circle that I have messed up, you know. Because no matter whether you try to avoid it, it will keep daunting onto you and it will hurt your ego, your pride and your self-esteem so badly that you will find it very difficult to come out of it, because you're trying to cover up your mistakes by adding more lies to your statements. नहीं ऐसा नहीं, मैं तो अच्छा कर रहा था फलाना. I don't know what. I strongly believe that when you get into a failure, it is very good that you come out and say, I did the failure, I was bad, but I think going forward I'll rectify myself in the next venture. That will give you confidence, and also it will cut down all the gossip which is going on in the circle of yours, which demotivates you. I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs who will start avoiding social circles, they'll avoid going to events and parties because people are talking about them. I would say rather go walk into that circle and say, ah bhai, నేను చేసేసినా ఏం పీక్తో ఇప్పుడు, you know, talk like that. అయింది ఖతం. What am I supposed to do after that? This is how your attitude should be as an entrepreneur. Nobody is super successful. There are very handful of people जिसने पहला business शुरू किया, startup शुरू किया, and they have made millions of dollars. Most of the people, look at the sharks, they all talk about their failures, right? Everybody has got a failure behind them. So don't worry about it too much. Let it come and go. Don't try to avoid it. Cool.
1 second. After this, can you pass the mic to the person behind? He's
In
been
the last
asking.
row.
Yeah.
Backbenchers are always difficult to reach out to. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Before stepping into this particular Skippy, if you got an offer letter from top tech giants like Google or Microsoft, what would be your choice? Will you, with offer letter of 50 to 60 LPA, what would be your choice? Will you opt for that particular job or continue for this particular startup?
You were saying after I finished Skippy or
No,
before?
Before, sir, before.
Like I said, I have never been a person who would want to enjoy jobs. And unfortunately, my industry, I'm not from a tech background. Google offices, I know, boss, they've got Cadbury's and lunch and dinner, everything over there. My industry from where I come, unfortunately, we're not pampered that way. So there are not any F&B players in the industry who would pamper us that way. So I would probably, me as a person, I cannot do a job over here. The reason I chose to do a job abroad in Australia is they have a very good work-life balance. So it made me very comfortable in terms of working in Australia and learning from those brands and those companies, which probably I couldn't do back then in India. I know that things in India have changed drastically now. So maybe now if somebody had offered me some great position, I might really think about it seriously, maybe after Skippy. But prior to Skippy, no, I was very clear that I wanted to get my entrepreneurship started. And even after coming back from Australia, I never thought that I will go and work for Google or Microsoft or somebody else. I was very clear that I will start my own stuff, and this is what I did.
So for example, taking myself as example, if I have an idea about a startup and I got an offer letter from tech giants, what would be your opinion?
You cannot do two things. This is what happens, you know. Most of the guys will be like, na dagar manchi offer letter kuda undi, startup kuda cheyali, what should I do? If you're not sure, see, there is no age to do a startup. We know the story of KFC, right? He started at 60s.
Yes.
There is no age for a startup. You are not sure about it, don't pressure yourself to become a startup today. Go and do a job. Learn something. 4 or 5 years down the line, once you become confident, please do a startup. I am 42 today. I've started at 40, Skippy, right? I'm not old enough. I'm not going to die tomorrow. I mean, assuming so. But you can start anytime. So don't be under that pressure. Do a job if you're not sure, and then come back into startup ecosystem once you feel confident.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. There are a few hands in the back as well, last rows. Yes.
Sir, my name is Shiva. What is your net worth of your company, sir?
I'll have to look up at my balance sheet. I'll give you my auditor's number. Please reach out. Smart move by there, huh?
हाय सर
Yeah.
हाय सर सर जैसे आपके स्किपी ब्रांड आरसीबी को स्पॉन्सर करे ना
Really?
ये मतलब लोगो देखा था सर
मुझे पता नहीं था.
नहीं जर्सी पे देखा था
नहीं, it was not us. We have not reached there yet.
आईपीएल कौन सा भी टीम को स्पॉन्सर नहीं करे
नहीं किए सर. थोड़ा फंड कर दो, कर देंगे. Not yet. I think you've got it wrong. We have not sponsored.
फंड कर दे
All right, sure. Yeah, maybe another 2 questions and
2 more questions and we'll end it.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
There might be a particular point where you have got the idea of this startup, right? Could you share the experience with us?
like I said, as an entrepreneur, if you're looking to get into a startup, you will keep asking people for ideas. You'll discuss ideas with your booze mates, your classmates, or whoever. And over a few discussions, you will realize that the idea is good. You know, it has good opportunity for you. That is how, like I was saying, we will keep looking for ideas, and suddenly the idea will come up to you from nowhere. Like I said, the idea is still probably even there, but you have not thought about it. Once that you come to that stage where you suddenly identify an idea and you introspect whether the idea is really worth it or not, that is where you will realize that, okay, this is something that you would want to do, or you want to pass it. In our case also, who would have actually imagined that, एक ice Pepsi की brand यहाँ पर बैठ के आपसे बात कर रहे होंगे, right? मैंने तो कभी नहीं सोचा था. So we always try to look for very complex problems. Not necessarily, yaar. Make it simple. Skippy is the most simplest product on the platform today, across Shark Tank or any other way. इससे और simple क्या हो सकता था? So I think ideas will come to you. Eventually, you'll have to keep digging, asking people, talking to people, and being wise that idea can come from any kid, any person across your ecosystem.
Sir, if this wasn't successful, what is your next step?
So if this is not successful, fine. This will add to another failure of mine in my stories next time. I will look into something else. I will start another startup maybe. I will become a mentor for a few otherwise, or I might go back to Australia. Who knows? अभी उतना सोचा नहीं हूँ. I think so negatively right now.
Well, that will be another chapter of your biography.
Absolutely.
It's never.
Thanks, guys. Yes.
Good afternoon, I'm Shrija. So I personally think that exploring plays a major role for finding the right idea to build your business. And we as students are overwhelmed with academics that are right there with us. But how do we maximize the process of exploration as much as possible so that we manage time for both of them?
Honestly, the answer is that maybe you will not be able to balance both of them well.
Of course, even if it's 60-40, but still, what is the process?
Can you elaborate a bit?
Try to explore things.
So I think when you are in academics also, there are a lot of times that your lecturers could be talking about XYZ theories and subjects and topics where you could suddenly find an idea. There is no time or period or place where you can actually get the idea that you would want to do for the next 4-5 years. It just happens. Or the other way of analyzing it is, if you are a chemical engineer and if you want to get down into the idea of how can I create a textile which is not going to be torn apart for next 50 years, or how can I create a sustainable textile, you can actually even get down into that kind of a matrix and understand whether is there a problem in my industry that I can solve. And you can actually reach out to a lot of people, like I said, mentors also, to understand whether there is a problem or not. But balancing of yourself in terms of your academics versus your startup idea is a very difficult hustle that you'll have to do. You'll have to stay awake in the late night, burn some oil. You'll have to get up early in the morning, skip your yoga classes or whatever if you guys are doing, and then get into this kind of a thought process. It's a tough journey. It's something like you're asking me that, Ravi, how am I balancing my work and life balance? I have no balance there. It's only work. Simple. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you.
One last question.
Good afternoon, Ravi. I am one of the CAP partners for this event. My question is, when are you available so that I can pitch for the investment?
That's an amazing question. Maybe I'll see you down the stage.
Thank you.
We'll talk about it.
All right, guys. So with this, we are ending this fireside chat. So thank you, everybody, for staying here and listening to this conversation. And thank you from my behalf to the team of EAD for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, panel, for this engaging session. We would like to express our gratitude for wonderful insights shared with our esteemed speaker, Mr. Ravi Kapil and Mr. Ganesh.
So just stay back for the felicitation.
We kindly request Padmini ma'am, you present a token of appreciation to our speakers as a gesture of heartfelt thanks from their valuable contributions to this event.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll have a group photo.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Sir, can we have a group photo?
Oh, okay.
So you can. Yeah, no, you can stand. Ma'am, come.
So one more from our side.
This is from, yeah, Arjun, you can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, before we transition to our next session, we have the pleasure of inviting the founder of Triarite Solutions to share their insights with our audience. Kindly request Mr. Kishore to join us on the stage. Guys, please stay back. There's a last session lined up. It's a workshop. And after that, the session is going to end. I mean, the event is going to come to an end. Yes. You can use this for the presentation. This is the next slide, okay? Like your PPT will be played. Mayur,
Good afternoon, people. You guys can relax for 5 minutes. I'll not take much of your time. It's only 5 minutes, and this is important as well. So I've heard some of you guys asking a question: how do we balance the time with your academics and also with the exploring new things and all, right? I could say this can be helpful for you on the same. So we are Triarite Solutions. This is an edtech platform. So we started this year. It's been just 8 months maybe. Yep. I've started it in the month of February. And this is my 7th startup. Yes. So I started my first startup in the year 2013 when I was in the 3rd year of BTech. I'm a computer science graduate. And that is into home tuitions. You all know about home tuitions? Probably everyone might have taken one home tuition in your lifetime. Okay, maybe you are brilliant. The below average students would know about this. So this, I used to supply home tuitions. So this has come into my line because I was a home tutor. Yeah. So I worked as a home tutor with one academy. I am not giving the name of the academy. It's an academy, one of the academies. I worked there. And they've charged me 500 rupees. And they didn't provide me any home tuitions for 6 months because that's the registration time I had. And yeah, they haven't given me not even one single home tuitions. And I paid the registration fees of 500 rupees, which is like waste. And then another academy, another 500 rupees, and even that's a fail. And then I thought of thinking of people like me who've paid 500 rupees all the time. who've got nothing as a service from the academies, then I started registering my own academy, Nandan Academy. Nandan is my friend's name. He's not here now. He met with an accident, so he's no more. So I started it with my friend's name, Nandan Academy, with 0 registration fees and giving them the service right then and lifetime. And there my business starts. So everyone knew about Just Dial? Right. So Just Dial was like emerging those days. They've given me free promotions. In just 6 months, I've got 27 tutors like me who are like wanting to take tuitions for their pocket money, the co-students with me. And I was having plenty of tutors. Like within 6 months, I've got 27 tutors. I have spread across twin cities in Hyderabad. And that was going well. And then the dragon comes in, the final semester, the projects and all the semester exams, and I have to come back into the academics again because I'm a below average student. Yeah, 60% was my target. If I get 60%, I'm done. Yeah, and this TriRight Solutions, I told it's a 7th startup. The first one started in 2013. That's into education. The second one started in 2000 okay, I don't have this handy. Yeah, the second one started in 2016 and 17, 19, and 23. In 2016, I had 3 startups, which is into entertainment, which is into education, and which is into e-commerce. So I was a former employee with the 3 organizations. As soon as I done with my graduation, I started with Genpact for 1 year, and 1 year with HCL Technologies as a software engineer. And another 3.5 years, I worked with Amazon as a support engineer. I worked as a risk management engineer for 3 years, and then I jumped out with my full-time entrepreneurship. And this has come to picture filling the gaps between the institute and the industry. So we provide internships, and you could see we are already tied up with 30 colleges across Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So we are have around 5,289 students at the moment, and 7,000 plus students who have registered and about to start by end of this year. So what we give is courses. So we are spread out with all the industries, not for IT. Courses, anagane first mana gurtoche the IT, Java, and full stack courses, right? Yeah. So we are spread up with all the 5 industries: IT, non-IT, management, finance, and pharmaceuticals. And all these courses are not the courses which are like mostly taught in your curriculum, but an addition to that, it's like an advanced course which you can get the knowledge on to be an employable, like whatever the industries expect from a graduate or a candidate. I don't say a graduate again, because once you're done with your graduation, you will be a candidate for the with the profile. So every candidate, what is that required and what is that missing in a candidate is fulfilled at TriRight. So what we do is, we have these courses, like our features. We have online courses, live classes, wherein you can directly interact with the tutors. And we also have offline courses as well, who can come down to office and work with us. So I call it as internships. So these internships are unpaid. We don't pay you anything, but in turn, we give you the knowledge. How? We involve you working with our software development team, who works for a real-time projects which are yet to launch. Clear? And we have these, as I said, 45 variety of courses, and all are affordable pricings. Have you, any one of you here have been to any coaching center asking for a full stack development course, how much does that cost? Any idea? Or your brothers or your friends, someone who've been to academies or institutions asking for this course. A full stack development consists of front end, back end, and a server connections. All together is a full stack. And that is costing somewhere around 25 to 40,000. All might have known about Amirpet. Yes. That's another call. Actually, that's a place where all academies rely. And we call it another university. Yeah. Because once we are done with this graduation from any university, we'll go to Amirpet for the courses. Yeah. There, the pricing is somewhere around 25,000 to 40,000 plus job assistance or job placements, for which you'll have to pay another 65,000 plus job support, because they'll not teach you properly. You will definitely need a job support, and plus for which you'll have to pay another 20,000 a month for other 6 months of the job support, because they place you back door, not the front doors. Yes. And guess what? We have the same course or same list of courses I would give you for 5,000 rupees. 5,000 rupees, which will have the front end, back end, and the server connections. This is for the IT candidates. For non-IT, we have electronics and electricals people here. For them, we have embedded systems, VLSI designs, and MATLAB. And for civil and mechanical students, we have AutoCAD, StatPro, 3ds Max, I'm sorry. And for pharmaceutical students, this course is not there in your curriculum completely, which is medical coding and medical transcriptions. We train students on these courses, irrespective of your stream. You can pick up any course that you're interested in, because no one is working on their own stream today. We are like diversified, and even the organizations are looking for someone who are like multi-skilled. And we are available at the same Amirpet again. Yep. Amirpet near Sureka Chambers. You can contact us with all these sources. So I'm available on the same number. Yep. And we are there in Instagram as well on the same name, TryRight. And I would actually close this session with a thanks note for your patience. Thank you.
Let's start with the workshop without further ado. Please join me in welcome the dynamic founder of Sitswarm, Mr. Kishore Indukuri, a visionary in the world of entrepreneurship. His journey from a small dairy farm to leading D2C plays in the premium milk space is nothing short of inspirational. Today he is here share his insight on the entrepreneurship and innovation. Let's give a warm welcome to Kishore Indukuri.
Can you all hear me? I think everybody is all spread out. You can come to the front. How many of you understand Telugu? Okay, good. Most of you understand Telugu. And so Telugu, English, Telugu, Hindi is okay, right? So how many of you have heard of Sitswarm? Any hands? One. Okay. So ours probably is a little easier to understand, because we sell milk, right? As simple as that. And so I'll talk a little bit about, what I've done before. I know in the last session, Ravi was talking about his journey essentially. So I'll talk a little bit about my journey as well. So I come from a middle class background, right? Family was never into business. My father was an engineer. I started out as an engineer as well. Not even remotely connected to business. I'm telling this, so if some of you are feeling overwhelmed to do a startup, you can start anywhere, anytime. I got into IIT in my second attempt, right? I did not get it in my first attempt. Worked hard, got it in my second attempt. Studied at IIT Kharagpur. For which I think this year I got the Young Alumnus Award. So I think I got lucky to get that award. Went to Kharagpur. Didn't really study hard there. I think once I graduated, I realized maybe thoda pad lena chahiye, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to skip all the nonsense, go to the US, study hard. That's what I did. I got a master's as well as a PhD in polymer science and engineering. After that, worked for Intel for about 6 years. So I was in manufacturing. No, I'm not from an IT background. Worked there for 6 years. But all along in my 6 years, right, I felt something was missing, right? Somehow there's a strong personality mismatch, right, into doing a regular job, right? So I think 3 years into my work, I went to one island, a remote island in Seattle, did a wind turbine workshop. So this workshop, was all about, building a wind turbine from scratch, right? So spent a week there, learned a little bit. Then another week I took a break again, and this time I did a solar energy installation on a home in Arizona. See, what was I doing? I was trying to explore what I liked, right? Somehow I was not getting that kick that I wanted, right? I said, then, first 3 years I was doing, one kind of work at Intel. Last 3 years, I moved into a different role. That job was exciting, right? The job, I think, really helped understand a little bit more about myself, right? So, this job was like this. Intel was building a $250 million facility, and there was a small 25 people team that was, part of this project. So wake up at 7 in the morning, right? Be there by 7:30, and things would go on till late evening, late night, right? But that was the most exciting part of work for me, right? And I think 3 years into that, I got to travel a little bit. I realized that, maybe this is the time to try something on my own. I had a little bit of savings. As I said, again, I'll reemphasize, no business background. So I made a lot of mistakes. So I came back, we came back to India. By that time, we had a son, we had a house in the US. So decided, TK, we will move back. We sold off our house and, started, picked 2 areas, one education and the second one was agriculture as something that I wanted to try. Both of the things, agriculture, something was always close to my heart. And started with growing vegetables, right? And I think, I don't know if Srinivas Reddy Garu is here. At least 5-6 years ago when I connected with him, he was the HOD of mechanical engineering here. He's still here. So another thing that I did was, am I too loud? Am I holding it too close? That's okay. Another thing that I tried to do was education. Education was something that was very close to my heart. So started by doing practical engineering college, practical education in engineering colleges. That was another thing that I wanted to try. And name of my company, is Sid's Farm. And our elder son's name is Siddharth, right? So one of the things that we looked at, right, we were looking for good food for our son. At that time he had, a lot of allergies. So we were always looking for good food for him. And we thought, we've looked for, milk again. Where can we get to good milk, right? In the US, you had a lot of options available. In India, we felt like there were not as many options available, right? So we started with that problem statement, right? So, as you're starting your own enterprises, or if you're thinking of starting your own enterprises, the first thing, that is the most important thing, is a problem statement. A very, very clear problem statement is needed. We researched a little bit, right? Food Safety and Standards Authority of India was doing several surveys. In one of the surveys, some of the data that they compiled, so some of the testing, the data showed that milk is not there at where it needs to be, right, in summary. Right, you occasionally hear about adulteration in milk and food, always reported somewhere or the other. So we said, let's be part of this problem, right? Let us take this problem and offer a solution, right? And that is a clear problem. So we named it Sid's Farm. Siddharth is the name of our elder son. We named it Sid's Farm because it was a promise from a parent to a son saying we'll produce the best possible milk, and that is what we deliver to everybody around us. That is a clear value statement. This is the value. See, today we started with few people, right? Initially it was just me, then probably about 10 people we started the farm. Today we are close to 450 people, right? But each and every one of our people, this is the value, right? Good milk is what we do. If we cannot do that, we'll go out of business, we'll not do this business, but only good milk is what we do. It is a clear thing that is percolated across the entire organization, right? So as I said, I talked about the problem statement. Initially, when you start, right, when you pick a problem and try to solve it, you'll have one solution that you picked out from various sources, right? So our first solution was, okay, we'll start a dairy farm. Okay. And we started the dairy farm not too far from here, right? About actually a few kilometers from here is where we started our first farm. 20 cows, no background, right? I didn't have any background. I didn't know how to select a cow. Right? I was once, talking to a doctor, I was asking him, how do I pick a cow? Right? He said, Annam jusi konandi annar. Annam etla justa naakaithe teliyadu at least. But yeah, I took a book, read through it. He said 6 or 7 points. Ee chudandi, ee chuste avanu select chesam. We picked our cows, started our farm here, and start chesam farm. We started our farm. Started producing milk. Our cost of production was anywhere from 25 to 30 rupees a liter. Producing 1 liter of milk those days, about 7 to 8 years before, right? 13 to 15, 26 to 30 rupees was the cost of production. When we went to sell it in the market, all we were getting paid was 13 to 15 rupees a liter. Not even half of what it was costing to produce. Then we realized that, the only way to survive is to sell it direct. Now DTC is a very popular word, right? But back then we did it because we had to survive, right? So let's take it direct to customer and sell it. So every Saturday, Sunday, we got a nice flyer printed. We say we do pure milk. We started distributing some of these flyers. Every Saturday, Sunday, I would sit in an apartment complex, explain about our milk, have people try a little bit of our milk, and started to sell it. And to my surprise, people started accepting it. So we started with 20 liters of milk, went to 100 liters, then 300. So that is how, the customer acceptance was there, right? So we felt like see, I think Ravi was talking about proof of concept, right? Proof of concept happened to us, right? And at this stage, as I told you, I was trying to do two things, right? One, I was trying to do something in education, and the second, I was trying to do something in, in agriculture, dairy. So I would take classes. As I was taking classes, I would get a call from a customer saying that Eros pal raledu, re palastera. I would get phone calls. See, I answered all the calls. For the first 4 years of the business, I took every call that the business got, right? So pal gavali, pal oddu. Every call, from 6 to 10 in the morning, we would get phone calls. 6 to 10 at night, we would get phone calls. So then decided you can only do one business properly. Right? So stopped whatever, even though I loved education, I felt like, you can only do one thing right. I stopped stimulus that I was doing and just started doing a lot more of Sits Farm. See, as I said, the solution was that we were offering was a dairy farm, produce good milk, and deliver it to our customers, right? And we started to scale. One time, we were doing this. We had a professor from Germany who came and visited our farm. He was one of our customers. He visited us. He told us, Kishore, he then became a professor at IIM Ahmedabad. So he asked me to come give a talk on value chain management, right? And how we look at it at Sits Farm. How many of you know the word value chain? So then we started writing what is it. See, what were we doing? We were producing milk. We were producing our own milk. Then, I'll tell one more story. I skipped the story. Then we were packing it. We were just hand packing the milk. We were processing and packaging it. Then we were also doing home delivery. When you do home delivery, you also have to attend calls, right? Because if the packet does not get delivered, if a cat has drank from your packet, all of that you still have to address, right? So we were doing all these three things, right? Take a look at any other dairy. They actually only do one or two of them. We were doing all these three things separately. I'll tell a little bit about a story, so it is a little bit more interesting. It is a little bit more exciting, for you guys. So I remember dairy farm. A lot of people told me, don't get into dairy farm. It is one of the toughest fields to do. I didn't listen. I got into it anyways. I thought, kar lenge. I know how to fight. I'll fight. But only when I got into it, I realized, what a fight it was, right? 4 to 5 in the morning, we used to wake up, okay? 5 to 5:30, hand packet milk. 5:30 to 6:30, home deliver it. No chance for error. And in the initial days, we used to sell raw milk. Morning milk, we used to sell in the morning. Evening milk, we used to sell in the evening. So 365 days into 730 days, we used to deliver milk. A lot of accidents, whatnot, right? A lot of nonsense also happens, right? These are all learning things. So as our milk started to grow, 4 became 3:30, 3:30 became 3, 3 became 2:30. At one point, we were waking up at 1:15 in the morning just to make sure customer gets their milk at 6:30. Doesn't matter how great milk you produce, if the milk doesn't reach a customer by 6:30 in the morning, it is no good, right? Because the end thing, you have to deliver to a customer by 6:30. So, right, all along, right, we were maintaining our values really, really strongly. So whenever we needed help, right, we went back to our customers, right? And one of the first things we did, we were selling raw milk. We realized that if you continue to wake up at 1:15 in the morning every day and do it for year on year, both our animals as well as our people will die, right? At that point, we realized, let's start chilling milk. Let's understand a little bit about processing. That is when we invested in a small chilling facility, right, for our milk. I never banked with a banker, so understood a little bit. I was in Narkuda, there is a syndicate bank right here. One day I met the bank manager. I was casually chatting with him. He told me, Kishore, I can offer you a bank loan. Right? And that is when, that took almost a year for us. And we bought our own piece of land in Shabad, about 30 kilometers from here, and started putting up a processing facility. So I'll come back to value chain, production of raw milk, then process and package it, then, home deliver it, right? All these three things. So, as we started to understand our value chain, right, we felt like, are we really good at production of raw milk? And when we started to write this question, right, we felt like, the farmers all around us were actually producing milk a lot more efficiently than we are able to, right? But trust is a problem. How do I know that milk is good? We know it is good milk, right? We will make sure that not a single drop of milk, single drop of water gets into our milk, right? Water is also, concern for people, right? So, wherever our produces, how do you know that is great milk? So that is when we started to understand that testing is important. See, we always used to get this question from customers. Kishore, nuvaithe farm lo eppudu undavu kada 24 hours. No, how can you guarantee me that evaro neelu galapaledani etla? I'll give a small joke, right? One day we got invited to Chirek. We were talking to students there. I asked them this question, right? And see, initially we had a lot of hurdles, right? For example, sometimes one day cow gave less milk, but we had a commitment to our customers, right? We had to sell so many liters of milk. What would you do? I asked the students. One of the kids, raised his hand. We never ever did that, right? It never occurred to us also to ever add a drop of water, right? We actually came back to the farm, milked our cow a third time. Probably bichare usko taklif diya, but we milked a cow a third time, got that 1 or 2 liters of milk, and I went back in my car and home delivered again to our customer. But we never ever, did that, right? I've never ever had a drop. So we realized that testing was very, very important. And me, I have, a lot of people asked me, right, you're too padalika, you're doing all this, right? What value are you adding? This is a question I always had. A lot of people, including my parents, you did all this, you studied that, what are you doing? See, education is about, can you problem solve? Can you take any problem and solve it, right? And that is where I think as a company, we figured out solutions to the problems that we needed to solve. And today at SIDS Farm, we do 6,000 tests every day on our milk, right? A lot of people say 6,000 tests, is it even possible? But that is what we do, right? Every 40-liter can of milk that goes through our facility gets tested. We test for urea, sugar, salt, any starch that can get into milk, preservatives like hydrogen peroxide, caustic soda, baking soda, formalin. We look for 5 different classes of antibiotics, steroids, hormones, anything that can get into milk externally, we test for it. Anything that could get into the future, we are already researching it. Why? Because we are paranoid about milk quality, and that is the solution that we said we'll offer to our customers. Our milk packets say no antibiotics, no hormones, and no preservatives, and we deliver that every day. How do I get the confidence to stand here and say that my milk is good? Because we test it. We put that depth into the problem that we are trying to solve, right? And that is the solution statement that we've offered, right? We have a model dairy farm about 25 kilometers from here. You can come visit that farm anytime. See, how do customers trust us? Our milk is 30% more expensive than regular milk. Still, customers are paying for our milk. Why? About 40,000 customers today buy our milk in the city of Hyderabad. Why do they buy it? Because it is not about money. Please remember, a lot of people say, okay, your milk is 120 rupees. Why? Right? The value, it is not about money. It is not about that MRP or 120 rupees. It is about whether are you giving that value to them or not. If you are convinced that you are giving your customer that value, people will pay for it. And the value that we are giving is you don't have to worry about the milk that you drink. Right? For 1,000 rupees more, that is what, if you calculate, if you do the math, right? If you're paying 30 rupees more for our milk, right, into 30 days, it is about 1,000 rupees more. For 1,000 rupees more, which is cost of a meal outside, if you go to a restaurant, it will probably cost you 2,000 rupees. For 1,000 rupees more, your kid can have one product which you don't have to worry about. And that is a clear value prop that we give to our customer. Please remember value, right? When you build your own enterprise, are you giving that value to your end consumer or not? Right? And in our solution statement, the solution statement that we offer to our customers, a model dairy farm where we research, right? We work with close to 1,500 farmers that produce our milk for us, but every 40-liter can of milk gets tested. Right? And every Saturday, since the inception, right, we've been doing this a lot more aggressively now. Every Saturday, farmers can walk into our farm from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. They can see exactly how to milk a cow, right? Walk into the lab, see exactly all the tests that we do, then walk into our processing facility, get an idea of what happens in a milk processing facility, go through our grass growing operations just to get a feel. Kids go on a tractor ride. We give them the entire thing end to end to build this trust with our end consumer. That's one thing they do. I'm trying to see if I've forgotten any things. I've been speaking for some time. I'd love to take any questions and then resume my talk. ఈజీ టాపిక్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నా కదా, ఏం క్వశ్చన్స్ లేవా? అందరు పాలు తాగుతారు కదా. ఆర్ యూ గెటింగ్ వాల్యూ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ ద మిల్క్ దట్ యూర్ డ్రింకింగ్? Hello, sir. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate, sir. Thank you. Meeku eppudu time unna gaani, please come down, sir. Please come and visit the farm. It is not too far from here, sir. Yeah. Yeah. See, one thing, we encountered a lot of issues, but we never gave up. Please, yeah.
Sir, you had told you are from IIT Kharagpur. How can you switch it from, actually it is milk, it is from pharmacy type. How can you switch?
Why not? See, this is what I'm posing. One of you have asked a question to Ravi about, sir, how do we get experience? See, today, this is the promise of India today. You take any problem, do it better than the others, right? There's a market for it. You can take any area. It doesn't matter. You can do it better. Today, we are as much a technology company as, I just talked about milk, so it's simple. But we have a team of 10 people who are working on tech. We have a much stronger data science team than most of the other data players in the dairy industry. Right? I'll tell you, because you're all engineers, I'll talk a little bit about tech. I think that is something I forgot. Radha Saptami Rosu. How many of you know the festival Radha Saptami? Radha Saptami Rosu, enta palu extra amudotayo, we already know. Because we look at data very, very closely. Dashara came out, we know. We can predict. Right? Next summer holidays, customers ఊర్లు వెళ్తారు. పాలు బిహేవియర్ ఎట్లా ఉందో we can predict through data. Right? See, one beauty about a D2C brand is, the feedback is instantaneous. Customer ki paal baaledante rep morning you'll know, right? So you can learn much faster. Tidtaru, but it is okay if you have the ability to listen. Your feedback is instantaneous. Data is there. Lot of data is there, right? So I'll talk about our tech journey. Okay. See, initially when we started, I used to take all the phone calls, pen and paper. Apartment number 1. 14th floor 105 apartment లో ఒక 2 కౌ మిల్క్ వేయాలి, ఒక బఫలో మిల్క్ వేయాలి. ఓకే, ఇట్లా మేనేజ్ చేసేవాళ్ళం. 100 కస్టమర్స్ దాకా ఇట్ వాజ్ ఓకే. Once it started going beyond 100, paper was no longer feasible. Then we said Excel mein we wrote some macros. We started managing it over Excel. But as we hit 1,000 liters, Excel also started breaking down. It was just not manageable. Then, we looked around, we talked to one SaaS company and said, we interviewed a couple of SaaS companies and we onboarded a SaaS company to manage our customer orders. Okay. Then we realized that, okay, unless we own tech, right, it is very, very difficult to really get a grasp on data. And we were missing a lot of important pieces of information, right? That is when we started building our own tech. Right now we have our own Android and iOS app, all developed by our team, right? And see, milk delivery is not a simple thing, right? See, I don't know whether some of you realize what is the difference between Swiggy delivery. All of you heard of Swiggy, and what is the difference between Swiggy delivery and a milk delivery? Can any of you answer? You can probably take a stab. Swiggy delivery ki, pala delivery ki difference enti? Sir, sorry. timely delivery, correct. But there is fundamentally one tech difference, sir. Swiggy delivery ankondi, you put your address, it captures your lat long, and the person delivers doing regular time. So ante, if he does not get your address properly, he can call you and ask you, sir, my address okasari naku ardham gaatledu, adi enakala chupistundi, na correct address cheptara ani. You can ask them and find out and go deliver. Pala delivery ki 4 o'clock in the morning, you can't call a customer and say, my address dorkatledu naku right address cheppandi and call cheyalem. So that is one challenge with milk delivery. So aim cheyali, and milk delivery happens regularly every day. So you can't call the customer every day and say, sir, my address dorkatledu naku malli cheppandi, and roju call chesavudu customer dirtaru, roju pal delivery chestunnava kada, you are expected to know. Okay, today we have a team of 450 delivery boys that deliver our milk seamlessly without calling a customer ever. One lat long automatic route assignment. New customer comes, how do you solve it? Right, when a new customer comes, a route, right, you have a route with lat longs where you draw a circle. So this is the route of this delivery boy. Now a new customer comes in, you take this lat long and drop it. The tech automatically drops saying that, okay, this customer should belong to this route. It automatically adds it to that route. The delivery boy is informed, hey, tomorrow you have a new customer. Without calling the customer, you have to go deliver 4 o'clock in the morning. This is not a complex, this is not a simple assignment. So we have something called a T+1 and a T+2. If this customer belongs to a route that we have already been doing, it gets added to a T+2. He gets delivered the same day, next day in the morning. If it is a new area, then he gets delivered a second day. If you promise a customer you are going to deliver him milk and you don't deliver it, he is not going to be happy. Because pillal might drink. So there are complex tech problems that you have to solve specifically for milk. Yeah? So there's a lot of tech that we deploy. And yeah, so we have, as I said, we have a team of 10 plus people that are looking at data continuously. There are a lot of queries that we run, to understand the behavior. Entamandi customers vastunaru, entamandi vellipotunnaru. Customer, new onboarding, new customers that are coming in, entamandi vastunaru. How many customers are leaving you? What is the retention? So it's easy to, vachina customer ni kaapadukodam is more easier than kotta customer ni తీసుకురావడం. So retention is very, very important. Right? These are some things that are important metrics in any D2C business. So any problem, right? See, one, something that we will solve. See, we encountered a lot of problems in our journey, but every problem, eventually we've been able to convert into an opportunity. Any other questions? It was a great question, so I was able to speak on it. Any other question? Yes, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Aniket. So my question is, what is the material used in the packing of the milk?
What is the material used in the packing?
Sir. Is it kind of some eco-friendly or plastic is being used in the packing?
It's one of my favorite questions. I answer this question every Saturday when I talk to my customers.
Because that's really related to the health, sir. So.
Okay. See, I mean, I'll be blunt, okay?
That's okay, sir. That's okay. That's fine.
See, a lot of people talk about, there are two answers for it. Let's take environmental aspect of it first. So we'll talk about, it takes 650 grams of glass to transport 500 ml of milk. It takes 3 grams of plastic to transport 500 ml of milk, which is environmentally friendly. Because your diesel or petrol is nothing but your plastic. You are actually using a lot more crude oil to transport in glass compared to your plastic. So that takes away the ecological part of it or environmental part of it. Let's come to the health part of it. How many of you know what is the difference between a glass and a rubber? In physics, there is a concept called glass transition temperature. Take a rubber ball, right? You bounce it, it bounces. Put it in liquid nitrogen and drop it from the top, it shatters like a glass. Same material, right? If you change the temperature or time, you change it from glass to rubber. So why am I telling you this? Liquid milk So, okay, glass is something in which there is no molecular motion, right? If you put your milk in glass, the molecules of glass are not interacting with your milk. That is why people consider it safe. When you put it in a plastic pouch, one of the things that could happen is the polymer chains in your plastic can start interacting with your food. That is a concern, right? So but liquid milk is almost always cold filled. When you cold fill milk at 2 degrees, the molecular mobility of your plastic in which you're filling is close to zero, right? So even I won't say it's zero, but it is close to zero. So any small single monomer chain wiggling out of your plastic and interacting with food is very low when you fill milk at 2 degrees. From a health point of view, today we feel that it is an okay risk to take. See, that is why milk industry en masse has moved from glass to, plastic. I'm not saying it is an ideal solution. Filling it in a plastic is not an ideal solution, but there's a lot of depth to it, right? And I think we should understand that and provide the right solution. Let's not hurry and give a solution that is not great, right? Glass is today not the greatest solution, I would say, right? We should definitely find a solution that is much better, right? We should all strive for it. But, let's not say that because we felt, glass seems good, it is not the right solution. Because both environmentally, it is not great because you're consuming a lot more of it. Yeah.
Sir, actually, I haven't tried your product, but I can feel the confidence in your words. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Please do try it, if you can, if you get
Definitely,
a chance.
sir. Definitely.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, please.
Sir, the product which you are taking up is not a long run, right? It's a day past when it goes its essence, right? Anytime you have encountered that kind of a loss that because of the milk which has not been sold, amount of loss, or otherwise by any other means, we know the milk is very sensitive. With any other foreign particle, it might just break it out. Anytime that kind of a thing that encountered, and how you have come out of it?
It happens, quite regularly, ma'am, and that is what understanding, the industry is, right? So I have not specifically, talked about, how much time do I have? I have a few minutes. Okay, maybe I'll take a few minutes to, talk about milk itself, ma'am. How, see, I told you about an example of when we started producing milk, we were getting paid only 13 rupees per liter, right? Our cost of production was 25, 26 rupees. We were getting paid only 13. This is a problem not just we face, but, generally the farmer is also facing, right? And so, this is why thickeners get into milk. When I say thickeners, see, the only milk testing machine that is used around the world is an ultrasound machine, right? So ultrasound machine, you put, I think some of you have seen, you put it in the milk, it tells you how much fat, how much solids are there. But it does not know the solids are really milk solids or something else. That is how thickeners get into milk, right? That is how people said, okay, let me add, let me add sugar, let me add salt. That is how starches come in. Second thing, so first, the way we solve it is pay fair price, then test. The next most important thing that we do is chill. One of the most important things in milk is chilling. See, milk is food for us, milk is also food for bacteria. You leave milk outside, bacteria start to attack milk, convert the lactose and milk to lactic acid. Andukane paalu pullaga pagilipothayi antam, right? Because bacteria are converting lactose into lactic. Indians are smart, right? People have figured, okay, lactose, lactic acid ayipotundi, paalu pullaga avutunnayi, let me add a base to it. And where are the bases? If you take a Ariel, for example, or surf, any detergent, it has caustic soda or baking soda in it. So caustic soda and baking soda are the common adulterants, preservatives that get into milk. Again, we test for it, right? But milk fundamentally, చాలా మంది అడుగుతారు, మీ ప్యాకెట్ మీద 2 to 3 days షెల్ఫ్ లైఫ్ ఇస్తారు, అన్ని బ్రాండ్స్ 1 day ఇస్తుంది, మీరు ఏమైనా ప్రిజర్వేటివ్ కలుపుతున్నారా? I say, it is a shame that we are giving 2 to 3 days of life. పాలని టైంకి చిల్ చేస్తే 7 days కూడా పాలు పగిలిపోవండి. టైంకి చిల్ చేస్తే పాలని పిండిన వెంటనే 1 to 2 hours మీరు పిండగలిగితే 7 days షెల్ఫ్ లైఫ్ ఇవ్వచ్చు వితౌట్ యాడింగ్ ఎనీథింగ్. That is, see, milk, nature designed milk, right? So it's a magic, right? Nature has put in enough strength into it. But manam, because we are not able to chill it on time, we are losing that life. So there are parameters with which we measure it, right? And how to get it to that 7 days, right? We are not there at 7 days. We give it 2 to 3 days shelf life. But, eventually the milk has that strength in it. And we have to get there. That is how quality is, we get into it. We monitor a bunch of parameters to get there. Sorry, that was a long answer. Yeah. I think we are good. If there are any questions, I can take them outside. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes.
Sir, how difficult it has been to you? Like, as you mentioned, it was 120 rupees a packet, no sir, liter of milk. Like, what target audience, like what community of people will come under that category? And coming from middle class family, if we look at on a larger scale, as you mentioned, it might cost extra meal if we go outside, like 1,000 rupees and all. But at a time, if we talk about 120 rupees, it's a big amount for a middle class person. Like, there are many.
Is it? I mean, we are able to convince, right? See, ma paal konukunte, you don't have to buy ghee from outside. You don't have to buy ghee from outside. There is enough venna vastadi. Paalalo etuvanti antibiotic ledu, etuvanti injections levu, etuvanti thickeners levu, etuvanti preservatives levu. Is your health more valuable than that? So and that is what we do, right? If you look at our Insta page, we say we are India's most tested milk. Right, and our target audience is people with kids, right? Young parents is what our customer audience, but people from all walks of life take our milk.
So just stay back for felicitation.
Thank you, sir, for taking out your precious time for us and enlightening all of us with your valuable experience. We would like to invite Padmin ma'am onto the stage to present token appreciation for Mr. Kishore Indukuri.
I think our team.
Yeah, will.
Thank you, sir. I think I'll send it.
Sure.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
Thank you, Anupam, for being here. And I think we all seen the kind of effort being put in by the students of IIT Kharagpur. And we hope today's interaction with Anupam would be very fruitful for all the people sitting here and also all the people watching a live telecast on mystartuptv.com and other students. Anupam, your journey has been interesting. And I know there are some videos I saw of yours, but there's complete social media blank of yours. We'll be asking about that. Tell us, how did your entrepreneurial journey start, and which was the year you decided that you want to set up and become an entrepreneur, and you want to become an entrepreneur in the edtech sector?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief, right? We can keep it open for them, right? So to talk briefly about ourselves, for us, three of us, like, Nestor is co-founded by three of us, myself, Rahul, who is incidentally alumnus of IIIT Hyderabad, and then Sashank. So three of us used to work together in an incubator based out of Hyderabad previously, right? So during that time, three of us were actively hiring for different roles at the previous company that we were working for. So one thing that was really, surprising, shocking, and whatnot was we felt and found the students are really capable and have the potential. But the question, are they carrying enough skills to come and contribute to the workspace immediately after graduation, was a question to us. So that felt us really surprised, because back then the teams with which we were working were instantly to be from tier 1 institutes, call them IITs and IITs, IIITs, BITS, etc. Right? So I won't say at IIT Kharagpur the education was really fabulous, or I learned everything from my professors or so, but the ecosystem had played a key role, right? I mean, because we have so clubs like this entrepreneurship cell, or beautiful clubs, etc., where we learn from the ecosystem.
And you're also the general secretary of
yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, you have beautiful ecosystem over there which helps you to come out with flying colors, right? So, but then if you look at tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 colleges, is it the ecosystem same, or are they coming up with enough skills which can help them get a job right after their graduation, was a question. So that made us really think that this is something that is really big. The students by the age of 21, students are roughly, at least these days, spending at least 20 to 30 lakhs by then, right? I mean, by the time if they're graduating, if they're not having enough skills which can help them to get, a job at least, then it's a serious question on what we are, as an ecosystem, providing them, right? So that's the starting point of our entrepreneurial journey. So three of us, Rahul, I and Sashank, were equally excited when we started this, and it's been 3 years, fabulous journey ever since then.
Yeah, your platform, you have, after recent funding round 8 months back, you call yourself, or you aim to achieve, to become India's largest employability platform. So tell us about this kind of ambition, and what makes you confident that in the next 1 year, is it the target? Your company is going to reach the target, or probably become this largest employability platform of the country.
So probably, thanks Rahul, in his prior interaction, he took a broad demography of the audience here, right? So
this 500 million, 600 million students?
Yeah, I mean, it is. So more than before I talk about that. So I'm assuming everyone in this room is, engineer, or at least completed their, or pursuing their undergraduation. Is my assumption right? Yeah, I mean, that must be the case, right? So if you look at our whole, education journey as such, right? So what are we really putting our all efforts for, right? So at the end, yeah, I mean, handful of us must be really interested in the research that we'll be carrying out after, studies, or some of us might be really interested in entrepreneurship, like Rahul. Since his childhood, he was really interested in business. But significant portion of our Indian student segment are really, we are doing what we are doing for the sake of job, right? I mean, to get a good job at the end of the day. So now, I mean, if you take the whole education sector as such, at the age of 21 or 22, would I really remember what my marks were in mathematics in the 7th grade in my 3rd unit test? Or would I really, care about, do I have enough skills that are required for me to get a good job, right? So, I mean, by employability, we mean we plan to stick to get outcomes for what we are doing, right? I mean, by outcomes, we mean the job is the outcome. So we are working on a thin line of fire where we are making students say that, you do this is what companies are looking for right now. So we are actively in touch with 3,000 companies or 4,000 companies or so. This is what they're looking for right now. This is the gap that is present in academia industry, a gap. So this is what let's plug in. And this is what, you need to study so that clear this, and you will be in a position where you will get a job at least, right? So by employability university, we mean that. So now what makes us confident is, this is an interesting bit which I want to clear the air for a lot of the people. So right now, our biggest problem in our journey is not to make students get the job. I mean, I'll factually speak this. Right now, the number of opportunities that companies are looking to offer to the students are far higher than the number of students who are studying on our platform. That's the irony right now today, right? I mean, there must be assumptions that, 9 months back from here, we all heard the stories of mass layoffs in Google, Accenture, Amazon, Microsoft, everything, everywhere page number 1 is filled with such kind of stories. But the brutal, reality is, I can't take absolute numbers, but I'll take in percentages. If we are getting 100 offers from companies saying that, I want to hire for 100 roles, we were able to provide only 20 students as on today. So that's what our confidence is, that, we can become largest employability university, because companies are in dire need of the talent that they want to hire for and they want to solve the problems for. And they're ready to shell out huge, go above and beyond as well. I'll just give an example. So, I'm assuming everyone in this room knows about BharatPe, right? I mean, BharatPe. So, exactly 15 months back, there was an incident where BharatPe was offering, every software developers whom they hire a BMW bike, World Cup tickets to Dubai. Back then, 2021 World Cup was happening in Dubai. So, tickets to and fro tickets to Dubai, and an iPad. So, why are they offering? Because there is such shortage of talent. In order to attract talent, really talented, skillful people, they had to go above and beyond to do that. So these are kind of cases which makes us feel that, there is, even today, this happened to me last month, right? So one of my alums of IIT Kharagpur, who was like, decade senior to me, came to me saying that he has company in Dubai, IT-based company. So he wants to hire 24 developers. So he came to me and said that, I want to hire. But I told him, sorry, right now we have to keep on waitlist, because the opportunities are so many high that I can't provide enough number of students who are graduating out to you. Then he requested me, why don't you put me on waitlist number 1, because we share the same, alma mater. So that was the kind of situation we are in right now as a society. That's what makes us believe that, we can...
That's nepotism. Yeah, continue.
Not nepotism, but familiarity, whatever we call. That's how the society evolves, right? Yeah. So that's what makes us, believe that there is very huge void in this space that needs to be filled, and collectively it's responsibility of not just, us, but bunch of players. There is a requirement for us all together collectively to help Indian youth coming out from the colleges to make them employable, right? I mean, second order effect, what we see is if we don't make them really, skillful to become employable, right? So all the chaos in society starts from there, because age of 20 to 23 is where you have like that, energetic blood. So they're really, agitated with society or education system, and that leads to all the disturbing elements in the society as well. So this is the second order effect that we are really worried about, not just, the straight line that we're looking at.
Admirable. But the premise of Indian youth, especially engineers, not being really up to the mark in terms of what the corporates want or what the market really wants, is a well-known factor. It's a well-known factor. Where does Nextwave, your company, without a E, where does Nextwave make that kind of shift from the kind of trainings we have across the world? We have Amirpet here, right next door. So is Nextwave trying to create a kind of a larger scope Amirpet in Anakramgoda? Is that what you're attempting? How?
Okay, how many in this room have tried to apply for, JEE or IIT or any other competitive exam? At least, tried thinking of attempting. Okay, I can see, half a dozen hands, right? So, I come from that background, I come from that factory where, we were put as students, came out as, those kind of, with IIT ranks, right? So, I'll ask in this way, right? I mean, if we are in such kind of, IIT preparatory course, and say, for example, this year MHRD announces that IIT syllabus is changing. So, would the Chaitanya, Narayana, Akash, Fidji, Bansal, etc., whatnot of the world, would they change their syllabus or not immediately, the next day, right? So, that's a no-brainer.
They would change, yes.
So, now when was the last time the curriculum was changed in Tier 3, Tier 4 colleges? Because, even the administrators want to do that, right? I mean, no college wants to say that, I don't want to give placement, but they have their own practical constraints. So, we have beautiful colleges, Andhra, Telangana together are owning like around 800 colleges, right? So, whenever we talk to administration in the college as well, they are like equally excited to bring some change in the society. But when was the last time curriculum was changed, right? So probably decade or decade and a half back. So, okay, decade back, do we have all this digital first transaction? No. So, do we have all this digital first, whatever we're doing now? No. So, industry is evolving at rapid pace. So now whatever the student has to learn, is that aligned with what industry is really required, right? I mean, so that's what, now we call it as, the focus is always on reverse engineered curriculum. When we mean reverse engineered curriculum, look at what companies really want. So, I mean, last 8 months, there has been huge buzz on what? GPT, right? I mean, everyone, no matter whether they are tech savvy or not.
AI, automation.
GPT, AI, etc. So, we are really worried whether the skills that we are teaching to the students will be really, valid or not. Then we hit on the ground. Personally, three of us, like all 3 co-founders of us, like went, hit on ground and spoken to MNC CEOs and the talent acquisition heads, engineering managers, etc., what their hiring requirement is going to change. There are certain notes and inputs that we got, and we were able to change it within the short span of time.
So was this interaction with the recruiters in constant level interaction? Does it continue so that you keep on getting?
So it's not an event based; it's a continuous. So we have a it's like it's not like once in 6 months or once in 3 months. It's on daily basis. So you have companies coming in to hire your students. You understand what their requirement is, what they're trying to or expecting from the students. Is the curriculum aligned for the turnout, and keep on iteratively changing it. So it's not event based like we do it once in a year, once in 6 months. It's continuously iteratively feedback mechanism that is kicking in.
So Anupam, I have in Next Wave's basic idea of getting students to come to a platform is that you have a large number of testimonials coming from students. Very few of their online presence actually has either Anupam or any of the two co-founders speaking. Is this method of getting in students to come to a platform a very studied method? Because there's absolutely huge number of testimonials on your platform.
So, I mean, I see when Rahul was interacting earlier.
Probably explain the kind of testimonials.
Yes, I'll come to that. See, I mean, what we strongly believed in is India is a place where probably having a brand ambassador like Kohli or Salman Kaur or Hrithik Roshan, more than that, what my neighbor or benchmate is saying is much more important to me than what Virat Kohli and Salman Khan are saying to me, right? So say for example, all of us are sitting in a classroom, right? So I mean, for time being, let's forget all our age difference, etc., and assume we are all sitting in the same classroom. I'll take the example of what happened in our case, and I definitely believe this is going to be helpful for every entrepreneur, budding entrepreneur sitting in this room. Say for example, we are all sitting in the same engineering classroom, and all of us are like happy, chill buddies, where we go to first day, first show on Friday, bunk the classes, mass bunk, plan, holiday trips, etc., everything, right? And all of us are like really close buddies. Say for example, tomorrow all of a sudden, Sunil comes to me and shows me his mobile and says that, hey dude, like I built exact clone of Swiggy, which looks like exactly Swiggy, but built by me, or exactly clone of YouTube, which is completely built by me. So what will be the reaction of this complete room that is here? I would say nothing less than wow, right? Because all of us are sitting in this classroom, all of us, are like chilling, just one night batting before exams. That's typically what we do in undergraduation days, right? Tomorrow Sunil comes and shows me that he has built an YouTube clone, which has like absolutely, you can't even differentiate between whether it's YouTube or Sunil's YouTube, right? So then obviously next question from all of us is, dude, you're like all of us sitting in the same classroom, sitting on the same bench, listening to the same class, bunking the classes, chilling, enjoying, everything is same, but how come all of a sudden you build that? Your answer will be obviously next wave, if you're a student of next wave, right? So then the kind of impact that it creates in the...
So articulate in terms of expressing the kind of advantages which your platform is giving them. So how do you recalibrate the kind of responses you're getting before you put it on the platform?
Again, this is a just continuation of my previous answer, right? So, I mean, just imagine a student for 21 years or after spending like, 10, 15, 20 lakhs or whatever throughout his education, etc., is coding for the first time and looking at an output for the first time. So we've seen the students where we hear their happy, look at their happy tears immediately after getting the job, right? Because, I mean, just imagine situation of a 20 to 23-year-old guy who graduated, who's not having job. Can he attend family functions peacefully? Definitely no, right? I mean, everyone will be like, what are you up to? What are you doing these days, right? So, though they know the answer, they want to poke at you. Unfortunate, I mean, that's the irony, right? Can they really face their parents happily? No, because they have that guilt that my mom and dad has spent, so much on me that I'm not having this. So now, in such a situation, there is some savior who's coming to you and helping you write from, learn from scratch and teaching you in your own mother tongue, right? I mean, again, tier 3, when we say that we are helping tier 3, tier 4 students, we can't keep our pedagogy and learning in English. So when it's going in vernacular, teaching them in Telugu and they're getting a job, so something that's like, you can't even, so that's what keeps us pumped. I mean, this is going to be common for every industry. The moment you help your customer, the kind of, if you're solving the problem, the kind of happiness they are going to have is, that can't be quantified. So now all it needs is just, capture the raw emotions, which unfiltered candid emotions, which makes the viewer understand that, they can correlate, right? I mean, again, when I say that testimonials play an impact important role. I mean, that's in fact like
was it a model which you saw elsewhere before you implemented it for customer acquisition?
More than that, again, the talking to students is what made us believe this. Talking to more and more students. Right? I mean, again, I'll give one example. So, say for example, Sundar Pichai is an Indian, right? So he's from Tamil Nadu. So if I go to Tamil Nadu student and say that if you study well, you can become Sundar Pichai, it's unrelatable to him. He can't even relate with that guy because Sundar Pichai has gone to IIT Kharagpur and post that I think he has gone to GSB or Stanford or Wharton somewhere, right?
He's been to Kharagpur, yeah.
Kharagpur post that he has gone to Wharton or somewhere in US as well, right? So now, as a student from Tier 3, Tier 4, definitely can't correlate to him. But I can correlate to someone who is similar to me with similar background, similar stuff, similar problems having, similar, academic, not a prodigy, academic background, like similar grades, etc. Right. If that guy is able to do that, then this platform is going to be helpful to me. Right. So this is going to be common for every startup. So if we can talk in the language of what their our customer base is, and if they can correlate that, if that guy got benefited, then I can definitely get benefited through this.
Right. So when you decided to acquire customers, how did you scale up the model, and what's the kind of future? Because you have acquired a certain set of students who you promise, you give the courses, you also offer employment. What's the next step in this? What's the scaling up going to happen, and in what phases?
So, I mean, there are like few sectors in India which I believe are like really fortunate, like edtech, health tech, fitness tech. These are the domains that I feel. Say for example, how many in this room knows Healthify Me, Cult Fitness, or these kind of startups? Healthify Me, I mean, we keep seeing the ads, right? So, I mean, these are the domains where you deliver the outcome, you need not do any marketing. I want to do show off. If I'm a student, if I got the job, I want to go to everyone in this room and tell that I got a job, right? I mean, I don't want to sit silent, because when I didn't have a job, everyone in this room got to me and poked me that, don't you have job, don't you go have job, right? Now, it's my, right, or my, whatever. I want to go to every single person in this room and say that though they don't ask me that, I got a job, right? Tomorrow I'm going to host a party, why don't you come there, right? So now the obvious next question from everyone in this room is, how have you gotten the job? The answer is going to be next wave. Similarly, just imagine Healthify Me, a guy with obese, like having 120 kgs of weight, is coming down to, say for example, 90 kgs of weight in, say, 9 months. Okay. So everyone is going to ask, or that guy is going to go and, I mean.
But how is Next Wave implementing this idea? Like you are...
I mean, we need not implement, right? I mean, so, okay. I mean, there are two parts. So, a student, if you deliver the outcome, the student is not going to sit silent. And the parents are not going to sit silent in the first place. So, say for example, my dad, who is in the age of 50 or 55, if I got a job and not having job for last 2-3 years, if I got a job now, my dad would be more than happy to put it in spam all family groups saying that, Anupam has gotten a job now. Just imagine tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 guy. Who face that kind of pressure from society, relatives and everyone.
But Anupam, would this be a challenge to tell your students to pitch in your company name when they advertise?
That's the derivative of loyalty, right? I mean, just
okay, now the important question is, how do you build this kind of a loyalty with the students? Because obviously they're not sitting in front of you. Yours is essentially an online classes mainly. Right. So they're not sitting in front of you. How do you build this kind of loyalty so that these students can go back home and say that I learned it from Next Wave?
Again, whatever I'm going to say, I think it's applicable for across industries, not just for Next Wave or tech as such, right? So, see, any user or customer coming to you means they must have tried or burned their hands with at least 3 or other 4 similar players, or someone who's providing similar value proposition. They have done their college, probably they must have tried something else. They have tried campus placements or offer interest, etc., etc. So now they have seen darkness to appreciate the light. That's a simple thing. So in order to build the loyalty, what we felt was just give the right value proposition to the user, because if a user is coming to you, which means they have spent like 3-4 other places. Again, going back to the same previous example, Healthify Me. Before I take up the Healthify Me subscription, I must have definitely met, or I must have tried to hit the gym prior, or I must have tried to wake up myself every day morning 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. and jog, lift weights, etc., whatnot, right? I must have tried 3 or 4 things which couldn't give me results, and now I am looking at Help by Me. The reason why I'm referring to Help by Me is because we continuously draw inspiration from, not from medtech, we draw inspiration from fitness tech and health tech.
But Anubhav, there's this interesting aspect in this format in which you're approaching. One is the customer loyalty part, but also you need people, trained people, who when they're facing students, your customers, they're trained to say things and trained to deliver your message. So what's the kind of training you inculcate in the people who are facing the students or the customer client facing executives?
Again, one thing we understood is no matter how much you say in phone call, it's the trust that's going to win the customer. So now again, trust. Say for example, a student is coming to you saying that, sir, I'm a mechanical student, graduate in 2019 with 3 years or 4 years of career gap, and I didn't have any prior experience. Would I get a job? You have to say nothing. Just provide 20-30 video testimonials of students who have gotten, similar, from similar background, have gotten a job. That is enough, right? I mean, okay, so there is Anupam, who is mechanical graduate, 2019, 4 years gap, he got a job. There is Sunil, mechanical, 2018, who has 5 years of career gap, has gotten a job. There is someone else who has 6 years of career gap, gotten a job. So now, okay, so there are 20 people or 30 people like me, exactly like same academic track record, same, tier of college, exactly same, all the variables are same. Now, if they have gotten a job, then there is something that, I can also get a job. So that's what is going to play a key role. And I feel no matter how much pushy or, how much attempt that we make, it's impossible to gain the trust of the customer unless we feel, yes, I mean, there can be some results, but one thing we understood in working in, India, I mean, the reason why I'm talking India is prior to starting up Nestwave, I was majorly part of, US and Middle East markets. So one thing we understood in India is, it is highly trust game. No, whatever industry you are, you need to gain trust of customer in order to, turn them as your paid customers. In order to gain the trust, probably, brand ambassador, etc. can help to a certain level. Okay. But your existing customers who got benefited from you are your walking, talking brand ambassadors. Okay. Nothing can beat that.
Yeah, Anupam, as an entrepreneur, what will be advice to youngsters? You started your company in 2020, and okay, what will be your advice to youngsters sitting out there who would want to start their own company? What kind of path they have to start on? What kind of mentors they have to approach? What kind of funding they use? So what has been your journey and what kind of advice? So these are the two parts we'll probably try to conclude.
So I'll try to keep it, probably it may go a little philosophical as well. I'm just giving heads up, right? So probably, my generation of entrepreneurs, I'm talking about majorly, my generation, current generation of entrepreneurs, somewhere to us, everything has been commoditized or readily available. Like what I mean by commoditized is you have a really good idea and you have really good, oratory skills and, analytical skills, you can get funding. That's not a really difficult thing today because, there are like bunch of,
so good presentation skills is something.
I mean, good storytelling skills. Good story. I mean, there are a bunch of HNIs out there in India and, capital is commoditized and hiring people to a certain extent that is commoditized. Everything is commoditized. So everything is so easily approachable these days that, you can start your own company just like, how you go to Domino's and say that, I want, veg loaded pizza. As simple as that these days, by simple I mean doing the base work, right? But to have sustainable and, which we can, to drive towards the right path, one thing that I feel is somewhere because of all this have become so accessible, thought process has become so much, narrowed down that we are picking only low-hanging fruits. By I mean low-hanging fruits. If I want to drive customer acquisition, let me go onto Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Let me do digital marketing. I'll get some leads that will give me the, customers. So Anupam can do that. Sunil can do that. Everyone in this room, sitting in this room, can do that. Or they can hire people or agency and can do that. But what different am I doing so that this is the secret recipe of Nestwave or Anupam's? So that this is going to, help me get customers at, a different level. So something which is not obvious, which is not low-hanging fruit, should be identified in every aspect. That could be it product, be it your customer acquisition style, be it your hiring. So I'll come to an example where during our hiring time, we started in 2020 October, we went to hire, into the market to build our team. So 2021 around July, August times. So if you guys remember, 2021 was period where, you wake up, you hear to a story of new unicorn, right? I mean, there was one day where at 8 a.m. there was 91st unicorn, at 12 noon there is 92nd unicorn, 6 p.m. there is 93rd unicorn, 9 p.m.
investors, what kind of skills he needs to have in his final years, for example, or also the question of feedback. Everybody has an idea, but how do you ensure that the idea you have has the right feedback so that you solidify the idea and you make it more concrete and you're more confident of the idea? So what is the internal mechanism or external mechanism for this?
Like this is two parts. One, validating the idea. Second part is approaching the investors, right? So validating the idea, I feel, no day idea is going to be perfect. So again, product market fit and all these things are like, it's a journey rather than like Rahul was mentioning prior here of one school. So it's a journey rather than, a single destination, right? So at certain point, you continuously keep iterating, you understand that, okay, so this is my value prop is going to be helpful to customers. So now customer is paying me for this value prop, right? So that's probably first part. Second part, I mean, the next panel discussion, which is about investment and other things, they can also answer it much better. So see, investors also wants to invest, right? I mean, the capital which is sitting in their bank account, they don't want to keep it at the fixed deposit of 5%, 6% returns which is giving.
But
right?
how does it come to the person who has this brilliant idea?
Yes, so even investors are in search of really good people where they can put their money in, right? So, I mean, when we start our fundraising journey, I mean, one thing we were surprised is, we didn't know that people would reply to your cold mail. We were surprised to know that. I mean, we started our journey there, right? So every investor wants to invest given the confidence.
How many cold mails did you?
So I mean, almost 100% hit rate it was. Like almost every cold mail we've sent, there was a response from the big shots we hear in the industry of investors to the angels, etc. Everyone.
That's heartening.
Right. I mean, coming to the same topic again. So investors want to invest their capital because they don't want to get just that 5-6% returns from FD or whatever they're getting from the bank by putting it in the bank account, right? So they want to invest in startups so that they can get multiplied returns. So now there is a lot of clutter out there, right? I mean, there are like probably 1,000 mails that an investor is going to receive, etc. So now how we can keep it there are two simple ways I feel. One, having a referral. So, say for example, I know 10 investors. If someone is approaching me and if I'm really convinced, I would put a word to, investor A, B, C saying that, hey dude, like, I know this guy who has built really fabulous startup. I think it's worth, your attention. So that's one thing. Second thing, if you're going to do, cold email or you're going to have it networking events or etc., it's important to have 2-3 metrics or 2-3 lines which definitely grabs their attention, saying that, these are the 3 things that we achieved so far, and these 3 things is what we are looking next. So if these 2 things can grab their attention, because I believe investor would receive at least 10 to 50 to 100 to 500 emails in a given day. But how quickly we can grab their attention and make them feel that this is worth my time, right? So again, investors would evaluate probably 100 startups and invest in one. But how we can filter into that 100 is the next big thing.
Time seems to be running out as usual. So any final thoughts on wisdom you want to share with people here, budding entrepreneurs?
So, one thing that really helped us...
and we all should take note of what Anupam is saying because he's rarely seen and heard. So let's hang on to his...
So, see, I mean, one thing that we understood after starting NestWave is it's important to, think beyond what's so obvious in every decision that we want to make. Right? As said, if you want to do acquisition, there might be 2-3 quick ideas that you get, let me go and advertise on Google, let me go and put up a hoarding near, whatever near the highway or etc. or whatever it is. Hit pause, think again, think about alternate ways with which you can do so that can act as your secretary. Whatever, think just beyond obvious, right? I mean, when we sit for, our own internal ideation session or brainstorming for everyone, first 1 minute ideas that we get are like, which are so obvious to everyone, right? I mean, that's the common thing which all of us get. Hit pause, just take little more time, think about, what, something that's not so obvious that I can do, so that can help as my, competitive, you call it competitive advantage, call it secret recipe, call it moat, whatever, right? So that is something that is, which helped us to pick something that is not so obvious, not so low hanging, pick something that is eventually go and act as your competitive advantage. That's what, the biggest thing that I can share to anyone.
Thank you, Anupam. On behalf of everyone, thank you. Think beyond
pleasure.
obvious
My
is
pleasure.
something I will definitely learn.
Hi Anupam. I would like to know the first initial journey because it's an online journey, right, that you started with. How did you meet the first customers and then crack that 0 to 1?
So it was during COVID, so no chance to meet them in person. So lockdowns, etc. were there, right? So one thing we've done was like even before the product started shipping out, we started building WhatsApp communities. So believe me or not, at certain point we were having 2 lakh people in our WhatsApp groups in 3,000 spread across 3,000 WhatsApp groups. So we were just building on community by sharing simple. I think everyone in this room knows news in shorts, right? In shorts where we just swipe to read the news.
Yeah.
So such small nuggets of tech stuff we were providing to every student. So students were like, chalo, let me get added to the WhatsApp. There is what's wrong. They are providing something insightful every day. If you guys know FinShots, similar to FinShots, right? So that way we had like large pool of community back then. So then we started shipping out our products slowly. Then few people join, few people don't join any day. So for us, even today, one thing that we really give lot of importance is any given day out of 100 people who are approaching you, there will be people who are not opting for your product will be far more than the number of people opting for your product. That's the nature's law, right? The majority will be the number of people who are not opting for your product. It's important to learn from each and every one of them why they are not opting for your product. And again, if you just ask this question outrightly, they won't answer, right?
Correct.
So we used to do anonymous user calls saying that I want to keep it off record, but fine. So we call the users and talk as if I am also a student who is willing to join NestWave. What is his recommendation or his or her recommendation, whether they would allow me to join NestWave or not. So they would say, bro, it's fine to join NestWave, but there are these 2-3 concerns that I have. That's why I didn't join, right? So had I called him like NestWave's representative, probably they wouldn't have told me this, right? So try to get as much candid feedback as possible. And sometimes here we'll get into bias where we don't want to hear some stuff which we are not really happy or comfortable with. But let's be brutal and honest, harsh against ourselves to take the feedback. So nudge them, poke them, and take anonymous feedback as much as possible, so that which helps you to give right things. What is making user to not opt for your product, right? And this is going to be eternal forever.
Okay, thank you. Got it. And one other question followed with that. Basically, we are looking at a larger vision. Okay, let's talk about the big problem that we want to solve. But today, that problem everyone knows, but no one want to act. Okay, now for us, taking that into the market is a big challenge, because it's a vision which everyone want to talk about or even think through, but no one want to act for. So how do you think we should plan out such things?
See, by chance, do you know Skyroot, which is Hyderabad-based startup again, right? Skyroot, which is into space technology.
Aerospace technology, the first rocket launch.
Yeah, first private rocket launched apart from, So I think all of us since our childhood, we have aspirations of becoming astronaut or something like that, right? Looking at the cool stuff that they wear and the rockets they travel, etc. So all of us had that cool thing. But I think they were in the same position that you were. There are tons of startups like this, right, which are in the same position that everyone feels that this is really good to have thing, but no one wants to take that bold step ahead, right? So I think it boils down to a couple of things. So one, how strong is our conviction in solving that problem which no one has solved for? How well we can, instill confidence in someone who is listening to me that, yes, there is a path to this, there is a distance. Say, for example, from here I want to go to Mumbai on road, right? So if I say that, I don't know how to go to Mumbai, no one will trust and join in my car. So I need to say that, from here to, I need to go till point A, point B, point C, from there I need to take this highway, then I need to, clear this toll gate, then I'll get into Bombay. So if I can tell them that, stepwise sequence, then they'll have the confidence to get onto my car if I have to go to Bombay, right? So similar thing is in my startup journey. Be it investor, be it team member, be it, anyone, you have a destination in your mind. So all it takes is how well we can instill confidence in them that, dude, this is the path, this is how I'm strongly confident about going, and why am I capable of doing this? Right. So if I want to have someone in my car, and if I tell them that this is the first time I'm driving my car, no one would come in, right? True. So I need to show them that, I have the, capability to drive the car for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, non-stop, if we have to go there. And my prior track record shows that, I can do this. Right. So two things. One, the destination is clear, the path is clear. And in order to drive that path, I am the capable person to drive that path. So these two things, if you can instill, even if it is like, untaken path or untaken roads, people will be really happy to explore that. That's what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're trying the first path in this the two segments, right? The first segment, who is the captain and riding the ship, and then second is the path that you are choosing. I think we might need some discussion further, support and all of that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I guess that wraps the session up. Thank you very much, sir. It was very great, and I could really relate to the KGP parts that you mentioned. That was really great. And now I would like to welcome.
Special shout out to yourself, Vedashree and team. So I know how difficult it is to manage academics as well as I don't think it's holiday time right now, right? I think Durga Puja vacation is over and you guys are back to college.
Ends today.
Yeah, ends today. So I know how difficult it is. By your faces, going by faces, I guess you guys had night outs.
They look extremely hassle faces.
Yeah, hassle faces. So
still working hard.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
We have an exciting fireside chat coming up with two distinguished individuals in the entrepreneurial world. Joining us today is Mr. Ravi Kabra, the co-founder of Skippy, a groundbreaking startup, and moderating this engaging conversation is none other than Mr. Ganesh, founder of Gen Speaks. Ravi Kabra's innovative journey and Ganesh's insightful expertise are sure to make this fireside chat a valuable learning experience. Stay tuned for an enriching conversation that promises to spark new ideas and inspire budding entrepreneurs. So I would kindly request them to come onto the stage for the session.
So before we start this session, I would like to congratulate the team of EAD 2023 for conducting this massive event across the whole of India and for their effort to bring together the titans of the Indian entrepreneurship scene. So a big round of applause, guys. And also, I would like to thank Manasa, Arjun, Mr. Vamshi Kurapati as well, who is not here, for giving me this opportunity and this space to sit over here and interact with such huge enigmas in the entrepreneurship field right now. So thank you for that. And so the time has finally come. We are having the fireside chat with Mr. Ravi Kabra, the co-founder of Skippy Ice Pops, and I guess the only co-founder to bring in all the 5 sharks to invest in his startup. So a very big round of applause, guys. Yeah. So, sir, before I got on the main stage yesterday, I was talking to Mr. Bharat, your team member, and then I asked him a question. What is that one quality that defines Mr. Kabra as an individual? And he answered with the word saying perseverance. And from all the interviews and podcasts that I've been through, I've understood that, you have this quality of being very cool, very composed, and I feel that you know how to handle yourself under pressure. So from where did you get that quality? And also, is this an unlabeled benefit of Skippy Ice Pops?
I guess so. But yes, I think for every entrepreneur, perseverance is the only word which will keep you driving. It's very important to understand that life of an entrepreneur is not going to be as easy as it seems all the time. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And when you're on the top, you'll find everything is working great for you. You touch the sand and it turns out to be gold. But when you're on downside of your business, when things are not going great, even in your personal life or in your professional life, perseverance is the only thing that I could probably think of. Because you got to keep pushing yourself. There will be at times that will break you down completely. You will feel like you want to sit down and just think about winding up, crying, or even you're under so much of pressure that you will probably even think about giving up. Unless and until you are very persevering in terms of ki nahi karna hai, it is going to be a very hard journey for anybody. And I think that is what drives me as an entrepreneur. I know as every brand will have a good time and a bad time, Skippy will also have a good time and bad time, but perseverance as a leader of the pack is the only thing that can drive me. My team wants to see me continuing to focus and continuing to push all the time. And yes, I've been a very calm guy. Probably at the stage today, yes, you might find it so. Maybe come back to my office, you might find a different Ravi there. But yes, got to be cool. My product is cool, so I got to be cool as well. I stay that way, and that helps me work, because under pressure, if you tend to succumb and show your vigor in terms of anger or anguish, I don't think that's going to be benefiting anybody, neither just me from a health point of view. So I try to stay calm under the pressure and try to find a solution out of it. And perseverance is something that keeps driving me inch by inch, even if I'm like really, really vexed up with things, but still keep pushing myself every day.
Well, that's great, sir. So, for anybody to inculcate these qualities, there should be some sort of childhood experiences or the way that you were brought up that matters. So do you have anything that, that interested you as a child that made you, be over here, like the place where you are?
See, it's very important. Sometimes we fail to understand the family brought up that we actually come up across. As a kid, I've always been on a dining table where my father and my mom used to talk business all the time. Aaj itna bada problem ho gaya, aaj utna nuksan ho gaya, aaj itna profit ho gaya, and stuff like that. So we have been raised in a family where we always speak business throughout the day. And after business comes a question ki, beta aaj din kaisa tha? That is a secondary question for my father. He had been very focused and persevering in terms of his ambitions, but that does not need to stop anybody from dreaming about being an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that only because you come from a family business you can be a good entrepreneur. Please, I'm not even advocating that statement here. I am just talking about the way I grew up. My parents were pretty into a business family, and many a times I keep saying this in college fest and speeches where I being called upon, that sometimes we tend to ignore the fact that family businesses, whether your dad or your mom is sitting in a kirana store, whether she is a cloth merchant, whether she's got a beauty salon or whatever, if she's been running it for 10s and 20s of years, she has got the fundamental right of running a business in profitability. And we tend to ignore that fact. We see things ki ye to bahut chota sa business hai, ye to koi bhi kar lega. Nahin, that's not the fact. The fact is that running family business is one of the most toughest things, and I think I respect now my father to what he was doing for last 3 decades. As a kid, probably I never realized that. So as a kid, I've always been brought up in this family, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, to be honest. Even today, I don't see myself going and working for someone. I might earn less today, make less money, but I'm at least proud of whatever I'm doing for myself. That's the way I'm.
Yep. So, well, that's a really great answer from sir. So, you spoke about family businesses and, what you've learned from that. So can you tell us any 1 or 2 experiences that you went through while you were building your family businesses that actually helped you grow Skippy? So any 1, 2 powerful experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be very honest, I've been very bullish about saying that I've got family business values with me. Sometimes people think this to be a little downtrodden kind of a statement. But honestly, I'll tell you what, in today's era, the family business values are the most important thing that probably is not even taught in business schools. My fundamentals that my father taught me are still helping me run the show. First thing was credit nahi dene ka. My father was very clear about it. Business kam karo, lekin credit mat do, kyunki udhari jaise hi dete ho, you'll have to keep chasing the people around for even $500. And that was my principle from day one. I will grow slow. I will not even grow probably if required, but I'm not going to be chasing people for my own money. So I kept focusing on creating a policy around my business, which made me more sustainable. Today, we are 100% advance payment business. I mean, it sounds it sounds probably least important, but it is very important for you to work on your numbers, your capital, operating cash flows very much. So that is one value my father said. Second, my dad has always kept goodwill in more important than profitability. My dad says that the goodwill that you are creating in the market by being a genuine entrepreneur, by being a genuine businessman, will take you miles further, even if you're not doing good. But if you screw up your goodwill in the market, then nothing is going to be actually helping you out. When times go bad, your goodwill actually will help you get funds from people, maybe investment from people, or even any kind of a credit line or any kind of a opportunity from people. but goodwill was very important for him. And more importantly, it was always, he always focused on one thing, that unit economics has to be very profitable. You know, whether you guys are talking about getting into a service industry, creating an IT platform, a tech platform, or you're getting into a product, or an F&B entrepreneur like myself, the unit economics is very important. At what cost am I acquiring a customer? Am I making profit out of it or not? At what cost am I giving this service? Am I making profitability at every cost or not? That is absolutely very important. People today tend to forget the basic principle of business, which is making profit. We are just talking about giving service, giving a solution for a problem that we think it is important. But everything to be sustainable, like how we talk about recycling a plastic today, making planet Earth very sustainable, business needs sustainability, and that can come only from profitability. So that is the unit economics that my father focused. Based on these three principles, I think I started off my business. And by God's grace, we are doing decently enough today.
Decently enough is a very small word over here. But then, yes, sir. So, so I'm asking very bluntly, so were there any mistakes that you've did in the past that, from which you had massive learnings and that you applied in Skippy right now?
Yeah, I think, see, firstly, to the audience, I am going to be very raw and blunt in whatever I say. I do not like to sugarcoat anything, because as a young student in a college, I believe that you should be guided in the right path. I don't want to glamorize everything and put you on a path and only later you realize ki yaar kya kar diya maine. So yes, coming to your question, absolutely, there were a lot of mistakes that I've done in the past. First of all, when I was in my father's business, we were into manufacturing of biscuits and exports of a lot of F&B products, right? One of the mistakes that I always did was I assumed that I was growing the business. I did not give the credit to my father, because say my father was doing X crores of business or X number of business. I made it to X square or X to the power of 3 or 4. But I always felt that it was me who was doing the entire thing. But I forgot the fact that the fundamental base of the business has been laid by my father. I was only growing on top of it. Like it's like laying down the foundation of an apartment and then adding 2 more extra floors on top of it. That 2 extra floors started to hit my head. I thought that I was doing amazing work there. But for every successful entrepreneur to grow, the fundamental base of a business is very, very important. Whether you're joining your dad's, your mother's business, your family business, or whether you're starting something of your own, the fundamental is very, very important. And apart from that, this thing what happened, I'll go a little in detail, is, based on that proud thought that I am building the business, I started something of my own, and unfortunately I crashed onto it. I literally burned a lot of money, made huge losses, and that is when I realized that it was not me who was building my business, but rather my father's business was getting built, and I was just contributing to it. So I've learned a lot of mistakes. One of the most important business ideas that I've learned is, do not scale up too fast. If you try and scale up too fast, the chances of you shaking across your path and crashing down is much more going to be higher. Probably look for a small growth, slow growth, but a strong growth. That is very important.
So, well, that is something that we all have to learn, to never scale as fast as possible, slow down, and also take your time. So now, sir, let's talk about Skippy. So how did the idea of Skippy come into your head? How did you plan on commoditizing a market, a multi-million-dollar market in the West, and how did you come up with the idea, and how did you do that?
Firstly, correction, it's a multi-billion-dollar market out there, not a million. So see, how many of you guys want to be an entrepreneur going forward? You have got some ideas that you're already thinking through, right? Awesome. So see, the good trait of an entrepreneur is that you will always keep looking for ideas. You will walk across the street and you'll be like, hey, why don't I create this kind of an app? Why don't I create this kind of a tech product and stuff like that, right? Similar thing with me. I was living in Australia. I wanted to come back for personal reasons back to India. And like I said, I never enjoyed working for somebody else. Though I was working for somebody else in Australia, that's a different story. I wanted to come back, and I was thinking of good ideas. I actually came across a lot of other ideas which were very profitable, very money-making kind of an idea. But a kick dorkaled naku. I didn't get that kick. And I wanted to have that kick. Excitement undali. Emana cheste, we have to be very, very excited about what we do. And I was sitting there like, thinking about ideas, and I'm sitting here in my living room. My sister, who had come down to live with us in Australia with her kids for summer, she started to pack some local ice popsicles in a suitcase. And I'm like, Didi, why are you even packing this? I'm sure you've got a lot of brands in India. And then she turns around and said, not even a single brand, Ravi, that I can trust for my kids. And as an entrepreneur, that is the opportunity which whispers in your ears. Sometimes the opportunity is sitting right next to you guys, but you guys are getting blinded. You want to have something better and better and bigger. In my case, that simple statement of my sister turned the entire story for me, and I started to think, it's such a simple product, it's such a wantable product, why is not somebody making it in a country like India? And I started to do my research, only to realize that a country like Australia, which is not so hot as India, UK, which is colder than India, summer in UK, and then you've got Canada, US, which are having $1 billion ice popsicle industry, and a country with 1.4 billion people in India, hottest and humid, nobody wanted to do it. So somehow people ignored that idea, or it never occurred to them. And as an entrepreneur, this was the kick I wanted. This was the excitement I wanted. I jumped straight into it. And eventually Skippy was born. We started with a lot of ideas through what flavors we should get into, what are the pain points, what are the solutions that I can offer. And that is how step by step the conceptualization of Skippy happened in Australia itself. We moved back to India, and then that's how Skippy started.
Well, that's amazing. So I have a bit of a lengthy question, so I'm using my paper to read it out. How was the learning experience while building Skippy? From working in an Australian company to learning about FSS, AI regulations, and understanding the business of packaged foods, what kind of research did you do? And how did it feel to relive the student days of studying a huge market and then coming up with research and everything?
The most important point I'd like to say here is, I know a lot of people say it is good to be jack of all, but unfortunately for an entrepreneur, it is a king of one industry that matters the most. You cannot be a great chemist and then look at doing an MBA, then look at doing chartered accountancy, and then trying to figure out what in the hell do you want to do in your life. It doesn't work that way. Because if you have got into a segment which you love, of course, if you don't love a segment, please shift on to something that you love. But if you've got into something which you love, you need to give your 5, 10, 20 years of life in the same industry, in the same format. That is where you will get appreciated in the market. Imagine if I had 5 years of experience doing chartered accountancy with numbers, 5 years of experience where I was working for a construction company, and then 5 years of work of some other advocate or something. People would have thought me to be crazy. But the consistency, what we did was, I have got 17, 18 years of experience in the F&B space itself. Anuja, my co-founder, and my wife, she has got another 14 years of experience in the F&B space itself. So we have built our complete understanding and expertise in a particular industry. Today, if somebody comes and tells me, Ravi, can you build a fintech startup? I will tell you I'll be the biggest disaster in that, because that's not my expertise. I love the F&B space. I've built myself on the F&B space, and that is why I could understand how to develop this category. So coming to your question, yes, this is how I think I realized that what are the standards of FSSI, or what are the basic standards, what are the pain points in the industry that I need to answer. So just to give a little depth understanding, when I was sitting in Australia, even before coming back to India, I knew that, first of all, India, if I start selling Skippy in a frozen format, I will never succeed. Because logistics in a cold storage is very expensive in India, very, very complex. So that was my first pain point that I had written down on a paper. Second, I have said very clearly that, okay, in case if somebody is biting on the ice pops, it should not be as hard as an ice cube, because then it will start hurting your teeth and the entire experience of enjoying Skippy will fade away. So that was my second point, that when consumers buy the ice pops and they bite on it, it should be soft and crunchy. Then the third point, I was observing that India had evolved into a consumer state which believes in natural, organic, healthy supplements and stuff like that. So that was our third pain point that we had written down, that it should not be anything synthetic or artificial which people are hesitant to consume. So that is what we met down. And then we talked about branding, because people love packaging and branding these days. So that is the fourth point. So this is how your 15 years of experience and expertise in particular domain will help you. If you are a tech geek, and if you believe that you are great at technology, stick to it if you love it. And you will realize that in the next 10 to 15 years, your value in the market will go exponentially high. You will see that if you're getting into an entrepreneurship, you will be able to find solutions like this, because you know what the problems are in the first place. So that's how I focus on being in a personal life, I want to play all the sports, right? I'm not good in any sport. I'm good in average in all the sports. But when it comes to professional life, I wanted to stick to just one domain all the time.
What Sir said is very profound. And also this is what, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, and Mr. Naval Ravikant also says. You have to play long-term games so that, you can adapt and be better at what they do. So I have one more question that I wanted to ask you, sir. So can you tell us about any key business decisions that you have taken while building Skippy? Also, can you tell us how did you come up with those decisions? Did you use any mental models, or did you have anything in your head while you were going through the decision?
As a startup, one thing we all will always have common, we will never have funds. Let's agree to that, right? Father nunchi, mother nunchi oppu teeskoni, we have started something, and we'll always have that pain in our heart that we have to return back those funds. So funds has always been a problem there. But in terms of what I have learned, is that what your question is, right?
Exactly.
I think the first and the fundamental important thing, guys, whoever is starting off, please understand one thing. Do not start a startup with the hope of getting an investment. This is very, very, very important. Guys, please come out of the myth that investment is right standing outside the door for you. You will go there and you will get it. You will not get it. 97% of the people who get into startups will never get funded. That is the statistics I'm talking about, okay? If you look at India, there are tens and thousands of startups coming every year. Today, Startup India, the website has got 87,000 startups registered. Let's understand that not 87,000 of them are getting funded. So first of all, the myth that investment is right next to you is a myth. Do not start a business because you are assuming investments will come to you. It will not. I have been to a lot of colleges where students believe that I've got an idea, I'll work on it and investment to mil jayega. Nahi milega, boss. It is 1 in hundreds of people who will get investment. Second important thing is whatever business you are getting into, like I said, think from a family business point of view. Get your fundamental process and procedures right. Think about profitability on day 1, not after day 100. Because profitability is only what is going to make you sustainable for a longer time. Look at all these big brands. I don't want to name them today over here on this platform. But the guys who were hero back then now are struggling to survive. You would have heard tens and hundreds of startups who have already closed doors because they were not even profitable. They couldn't sustain their own growth. एक चीज, I want to say this in Hindi, investor का पैसा business बढ़ाने के लिए चाहिए, business चलाने के लिए नहीं. You understand the difference? Business बढ़ाने, for a growth you need an investment which is understandable. But business चलाने के लिए यार आज मुझे salaries देना है, आज मुझे rent देना है, आज मुझे वो देना है, उसके लिए investment कभी raise नहीं करते. So guys, this is very two important learnings. I would say today, in today's scenario, they call it as a funding winter. We all have heard this term, right? Today, only those businesses are getting funded which are profitable. Investors are running towards them कि यार आप profitable हो, I want to invest in you. And these profitable businesses have the nice, time today to decide which investors they should pick money from. So if you guys are profitable, if you are making 1 lakh rupees profit, 5 lakh rupees profits, doesn't matter. But profitability will give you a long run. In that run, if you believe that now it is a time for you to scale pan-India, pan-global level, that is the time you should reach out to an investor, and every investor will be interested in funding you because they know the fact that irrespective whether I give him funds or not, this bugger is going to make his business $1 million business. That's very important.
That's an excellent answer, sir. So looking ahead, where do you see Skippy going 5 years or 10 years down the lane? This is a very interview kind of question. Where do you see yourself in 10 years down the lane? But then, 5 years or 10 years down the lane.
Look, I think the way we have positioned ourselves, first of all, guys, how many of you have seen Shark Tank India, or how many of you have seen us on that? Good, right? I had made a very clear statement even on television that we are not a health brand. I'm not going to be selling a popsicle to you and say, have this popsicle and you will grow 2-inch taller, or you will not have diabetes, or you will not have this and that, right? I have positioned myself very clearly that we are a fun brand. People want fun in life today. After COVID, hundreds of F&B brands started all talking about health, and unfortunately 95% of them are so horrible to taste that after a bite I cannot have the second bite. Do you guys agree with me or not? Yeah? So we positioned ourselves very clearly that we are a fun brand, and we've started to add to the fun story by adding more and more products. And we are an offline brand, which makes us more sustainable. Today, all the D2C, online only, yo-yo kind of a brands are struggling because they are not profitable. D2C, it's very difficult to be profitable. We are offline brand, and the way we have grown today. So pre-Shark Tank, we were a team of 14 people. Today we are close to about 280 to 300 people across India. We were in about 800 or 1,000 plus stores pre-Shark Tank. We are in 22,000 stores today. We are doing more than 8,000 pin codes through Zepto and Swiggy as well. So I think the structure is perfectly aligned. If you ask me what in the next 5 to 10 years, I cannot say what is happening in the next 10 years, but at least in the next 3 to 5 years, I think we will be a 1,000 crore plus brand in terms of our revenues, which is very much possible because our fundamentals are right, our team is aligned, everybody understands that the space that where we are playing is a very, very unique category that we are trying to develop. And 20 rupees कौन खर्च नहीं करता यार आज if somebody wants to have an ice popsicle, he will not think it 20 रुपए के लिए मैं loan लूँ या क्या करूँ. He'll bring out 20 rupees and have it instantly. So I know that the entire India, 1.4 billion people are my customers today. Uttar Pradesh, if I take Uttar Pradesh 22 crore population, 2-3 European countries समा जाएंगे उसमें, right? So I am very confident. 4 to 5 years that is the number we are aiming at, probably 1,000 crore.
Whoa.
Thank you.
So thank you for bringing up Shark Tank, sir, because that was my next question. So scoring investments from all the 5 sharks, it's obviously an incredible feat. So could you share your initial expectations from Shark Tank, and what do you think convinced all the 5 sharks to invest in you?
Firstly, my disclaimer, okay? Shark Tank is not scripted. Before you guys have that thought, because I know a lot of people would be thinking, yaar, ye to scripted hai, ye to dialogues diye gaye hai, falana, falana. Absolutely not. In fact, we were in the season 1, right? At least season 2 and season 3 guys know who the sharks are. In my case, I mean, we were there for 3 days. 1 day was quarantine because it was the COVID time during then. And then 2 days we had rehearsals, and the 3rd day we had the shoot. So we didn't even know who the sharks were. Somebody said, Anupam Mittal, and then I had to Google who is Anupam Mittal. I did not know, honestly. Until we got onto the set, we did not know who the sharks were. So the entire experience of being on Shark Tank was extraordinarily good because it was very nervousing because we were extremely nervous. Why? Because 2 days of our shoot, when the other startups went for pitching, none of them, like 8 startups went inside a day earlier, none of them got funded. Then on our day, 6 startups went to the pitch. None of them got funding, and we were like so nervous कि यार इतने बड़े startups है, कोई solar में है, कोई tech में है, कोई इसमें, हम तो साला popsicle बेच रहे, कौन ले देगा investment? That was the kind of attitude we had, and we were nervous that we probably won't get any funding. So we went onto the set, and Anuja and I clearly decided, yaar, we'll just give it a best shot. And अगर TV पे आ जाते हैं तो imagine startup को इससे ज़्यादा क्या चाहिए? That 15 minutes on Sony prime time is worth 8 crore rupees, nothing more or nothing less. So how many of us can actually spend 8 crores? None of us, right? Probably as a startup. So we thought कि funding मिले ना मिले भैया TV पे आना चाहिए. That was the clear agenda. And when we went inside, our pitch was perfect. We were trying to hold on to our Hyderabadi Hindi. वरना उनको नक्को इनको बोले तो it would have sounded very funny on television again. So we did our pitch, and we immediately saw that there was some excitement, and this is one thing which I always do. I bribe people with popsicles. So if you see, immediately after the pitch I said, sharks, क्या आप हमारे ice popsicle try करना चाहेंगे? And I we passed on the ice popsicles to everyone. Skippy and Ashneer started to enjoy, Namita enjoyed, and blah blah. And from every corner, from the sharks, we started to hear good things about the ice pops. Oh, I love it. And that gave us a confidence. I'm like, oh my God, thank God nobody shouted at us, say कि ये क्या कचरा बना दिया and all that. And after that, the important thing which is an entrepreneur we need to understand, not just on Shark Tank, but even for a venture capitalist pitch, or if you're pitching to investors will look for one question to corner you. They might talk about your GMV, they might talk about your acquisition cost, they might talk about your way to profitability, any question. Or they might even talk about your personal failure in the past, and they'll corner you. If you get cornered, that is where they'll keep banging you onto, and that will go downside for you in the entire pitch. You got to be prepared for your pitch thoroughly. If you, of course, our pitch on Shark Tank was given only 15 minutes to be aired, but we were there inside 45 minutes. There were startups which were there inside for 1.5 hours also. So there's a lot of grilling inside. And that would happen with any pitching. So you need to know your numbers in and out. You need to know your math. You need to know your business process perfectly. And I think we knew that perfectly. And that is why right from Ashneer to all the way to Aman and everybody loved it. And I thought that everybody is looking excited to invest. And I am a startup who is selling popsicles here. I need to do something extraordinary here. And I suddenly got an idea that why don't I become the first startup to have all the 5 sharks investing. And if you see my video, you'll see there that I am suggesting to Aman, aap sabhi kyun nahi aa jate? And Aman was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And that is how I got everybody on board, and it created the maximum buzz a startup could get across India.
That's an extremely smart way to do that. 5 sharks, 1 go, full marketing.
Absolutely. Free of cost.
Free of cost. And so, I have this doubt specifically. They give, 1 crore for 1% equity and something like that. And then do they actually give you a lot of time to go out, sit down, discuss, call up your people, do the math and then come back? Or
I hope you're not recording this. Just kidding. So look, it's basically that it's a win-win situation for both of the investors and the investee. When you are working hard in growing your brand, obviously the sharks would also want to associate with you because they would also feel pride and pride that I have mentored this brand and they are growing XYZ. At the same time, we are happy that they are connecting with us and we feel privileged about it as well. But sharks are very straightforward and clear that they will give time and efforts to those young startups who have just probably passed out of college, who needs a little more of hand-holding. And like I said, Anuja and I have come with 30 years of experience ourselves. So in a very casual, candid way, Anupam had told me, Ravi, हमने Skippy के बारे में सोचना छोड़ दिया है, because I think you guys are doing what doing good enough and you know what you're doing. So rather we will spend our time with those guys who are needed more. But again, everybody is in touch with me. In fact, last week itself, I had a call with a few of the sharks. They keep checking with us whether we need any help or not. If not them directly, their team will get in touch with us. So it's a great exercise for us in terms of mentoring as well. There are a lot of times when you hit a roadblock, you are hitting a wall and you do not know whether I should do this or I should do that. And that is why probably I would reach out to any one of the sharks. I remember going down to Piyush's house, Ashneer's house, Anupam's office. I've been to Vinita's, Namita's office, everybody's places, right? Aman's office. Everybody has a different persona, different way of approaching a startup issue. And they give their strategic thoughts to us. And obviously as an entrepreneur, it is us who has to decide what idea to pick or probably scrap up all of them and do what you want to do. But they've been pretty helpful, I would say.
Oh, so you went down to Ashneer's house.
Absolutely.
Is there that 5 crore big gold table that everybody said conspired about?
I think that's a good PR that happened around it, but I don't think that's the case.
Okay. So, you had 5 sharks investing in you. So, did you face any pressure? Because, there are 5 huge sharks investing in you. And, did you face any pressure? And also, was there any one piece of advice that any shark gave you that, that stood out for you?
Not really that I was any kind of a pressure. I'll be very honest, Sharks has been very kind to let us do our business the way we want to do it. Of course, they have complete right and obligation towards us to give us a good advice. Whether the advice fits into our business strategy or not, that is something that I need to decide. But they have been very, very supportive to us. And one of the good advices that Piyush has also had given me during one of my visits to him, this is something that even you guys should understand, that there are going to be competitions everywhere, okay? Probably tomorrow, Skippy will not be the only brand making ice popsicles. There are going to be 4 or 5 of them. There is a Google Pay, so there is a Phone Pay, then there is a Bharat Pay, then there is everything extra pays, right? There is not one single brand which is ruling India. So the only differentiator, and this is what Piyush told me, the differentiator between you and the other brand is going to be your team. The team which you are working on, how you receive a customer, how you deploy your marketing stunt, how you talk to your channel partners, and how you promote yourself, everything depends on a team. So focus on building a team, and obviously the success will become much more easier, because the other startups who get into the similar space may not have a good team. They may not reciprocate the same way that your team is doing. Every inch, if you see about Skippy, the way my marketing team has done branding, whether it is the box, it is the bike, EV bike that we have launched, or even the presentation across events, we focus a lot about how the brand is presented and positioned. So that is the outcome of a team. So I have always tried to be a very team-centric person, trying to give all the credits to my team, and I think that is a very important thing, statement, that the team will differentiate you from your competitors.
This is something that all of us should remember, guys, because as we grow up, we make startups, and then a team is extremely important. Have like 5 to 6 very close people with you. So, sir, given your involvement with startup investments, and I'm sure you have invested in a few companies, so what do you look for in the founder while you're investing? So what key qualities define, the founder?
I think first of all, I like to find a founder who's very grounded. There are a lot of founders who will say, I can do this also, I can do that also, I can do the entire world, I can do blah, blah, blah. No investor would want to have an unrealistic founder. Founders need to be very grounded and be very straightforward in the saying that what he or she can do, what he or she cannot do. It's always good to be very transparent on that fact. Secondly, there are a lot of startups who start at a particular service or a product, but then they, in the initial days itself, try to do too many things there. They will add this feature, they will add that product, they will add this and that. I don't think that is a good approach. First thing, get your basics right. Grow your building, your platform or your business to X level. And then once you start making good revenue, you become a little sustainable, then you try to add more features onto it. So I try to talk to a lot of founders to tell them and guide them that, don't jump into too many things on day one. I mean, when I launched ice popsicles, I did not launch the corn sticks and the cream roll and blah, blah, blah all together. First, we took at least 2 years of time to get stabilized with the ice popsicle business. Now we have started to add other products, right? So that is the right way to go. So I look at founders who are pretty grounded. Second, people who are not trying to do too many things, because too many things will spoil the entire broth itself. I would rather want you guys to focus on few good things or 1 or 2 things only, build a business and then add on top of that. And a founder who has a little bit of either education background or an experience in the same domain. Like I said, tomorrow if I go and start a fintech company, no investor will fund me because they know I know zero about fintech, right? But if I again start up a second venture in F&B space, I'm sure everybody will come and invest into me. So that domain expertise or education background. If you're an engineer and if you want to start a tech platform, I'm sure a lot of investors would be interested to fund you guys. But like I said, if you're completely off the domain, it might be hard for me to believe that you can actually survive in that space. So these 3 trends is basically what I see. And whether you're making profit immediately doesn't matter. I understand that sometimes startups take a longer time to make profit, but at least you should have a clear clarity that paisa aana kahan se, right? If you tell me, nahi sir, aap paise do to paise nahi aane wale, nobody gives you money then. That's it.
So one last question before I end.
Yeah.
So if you were given a time machine and you were asked to go back to your 21-year-old self, what advice will you give to your own 21-year-old self?
Wow. I hope one of you guys are building that time machine. Look, I've made a lot of mistakes in my past. I wish as a young guy, I wouldn't have made that mistakes. I don't know. Like I was telling you, in my father's business, I had the audacity to think that I was building or growing his business, but rather it was his business who was supporting my growth. After that, what happened, and I just want to cover this as a part of my failure story, because every entrepreneur has a failure story. After I came out of my father's business, I started a tech business. So this is a very good example because of what all I have said in the last few minutes. I have no background in technology, okay? I started a platform called Dial Me Guru, which was on a very similar base of Just Dial, which it is today. People used to call us up or go to our website, get the information, and my merchants would give me commissions on that. So I started that portal again, of course, with the audacity to think that I know everything, and built on this and scaled up like mad. Matlab, I would say that in the start, 0 day to 100th day, you went from 0 employees to 300 employees straight away. And bang, 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 it went on. And unfortunately, the fundamentals were not right, and my business came crashing down. 1.3 crores gone in thin air. All the debt, all my father's money that I had taken up came onto my neck. And it turned out to be such a painful journey for me that my pride, my ego, my attitude, everything went down the drain. And I feel regretted today that I should have been a little more stable, matured enough to understand how to run a business. So I think if I had a chance to go back, I would correct those mistakes, learn a little more of myself before actually jumping down and expanding businesses too fast. And after that, that is why I took a break, went down to Australia for 7 years, worked for good employees there, learned a lot of skills, came back and then started to deploy it in Skippy today. So there are a lot of these mistakes which I regret all the time, but everybody should understand every entrepreneur is most likely to make mistakes. I'm not saying everybody will and must make mistakes, but most likely you guys are going to make mistakes. It is important that, and when you make these mistakes, Reddy garu, Abbai, Chudu, yemaitundi, what is he doing? Sorry about my Telugu. But Gupta ji ka ladka dekho kya kar raha hai, Atan ki chudandi. All that things will come in, even your building's watchman will also give you a good lesson of how to do business. That is how it is. So failures will come in our life. We need to continue just passing, understand that it's a pass of life, and then build ourselves to wait and wait until we are actually successful. Yeah.
Well, that was an exciting session. A huge round of applause, guys.
Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv. about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
All right, let's get started for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, outside, you're going to miss all the fun that's happening inside, so please do come in as soon as possible. So let's get started. Good morning. Swagatam, welcome. Today we look forward to really an exciting session on discussions on what is the possible. There are wonderful, fine intellectuals literally across the country who've taken time today and tomorrow to talk about what is that we need to do to make things better. And thank you all for your support and taking time to be part of IKMC 2023. You make it all possible for us and motivate us to do better. I don't know how many of you have an idea of what the Anthropocene epoch is, right? So I thought I would give some trivia, which would be useful for you to actually tell other people as well. So this is a period of the Earth's history when human activity, that makes a significant impact on the planet's climate and ecosystem. And for the geeks out there, the word Anthropocene comes from anthropos, which is human, and scene, which is new. And this was made popular by very apt people, I would say, a biologist and a chemist, Eugene Stromer and Paul Crutzen in 2020. So they generally have been debating when does Anthropocene start. They've said it starts from 1950, because that's really when the development, what they call the Great Acceleration, took off. And we have 3 plenary sessions today and roundtables that are focused on challenges, looking at creative solutions, and also we hope that it would result in a collective call to action to make a positive contribution. And the morning sessions, we're going to talk about taking the bold challenges and stories of impact. Then we ratchet up the heat, pun unintended. In the afternoon, we look at how constraints are a source of creative possibilities. We hear some truly inspiring journeys, after which the third session explores what is possible through partnerships. Then we make into roundtable discussions today on responsible manufacturing and on One Health approach. Okay. And then we celebrate, for those who can, let your hair down, can't, but to celebrate a dinner and awards later tonight. And tomorrow we are at the Park campus with a product exhibition from our startup team. There are some wonderful startups out there. You should definitely talk to all of them. And exciting roundtables on intellectual property, valuation, and regulatory affairs. Exciting 2 days ahead. But before we get started, right, this is important. I request all of you to stand up. Those who just came in, you can just remain standing, right? So we're going to do something. We keep talking about it, but we are calling it the daily pledge for the Anthropocene era, right? So I'm going to say something. Don't worry, it's not some scary stuff, but something that we should do. So put your hand up, all of you, right there. I solemnly swear. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not had breakfast, please do later, but right now, I want to hear it again. I solemnly swear, that I will try to do my best to create a better tomorrow. Thank you. Say that every day. So before the end of the day, make sure you talk to as many startups as you can, share your experiences. Now take a moment, look around, right? And if you don't know a person next to you, greet them. This is a great opportunity to meet friends. Please do. Satya, you know everybody. So other than that, please do make friends. And one small starting before we start, keep your phones on silent. Now, we are ready. Without any further ado, it's my pleasure and privilege to invite Deepangita Chattopadhyay, the Chair, CEO and the moving spirit of IKP Knowledge Park, to set the stage and get us started. Deepangita.
So it's so nice to be with all of you, greeting my old friends who've gathered here, greeting all the new people that I'm meeting and I'll be meeting in these 2 days. And I keep saying, if I'm in a conference and I'm not meeting about 30% new people, then it must be boring. You have to actually increase your network and be able to meet new people, because all of us gathered here are here to celebrate innovation, celebrate the spirit of innovation, and ask ourselves, like Shikhar said, what is possible? What can we do? This is a conference, IKMC, the International Knowledge Millennium Conference. We've been doing it for the last 17 years, and it's become quite ritualistic for me to stand here and greet everyone. Every time we look at a relevant problem where we can brainstorm with all of you to see how to go forward. And we picked up this topic, making positive impact in the Anthropocene. Because what else is more important when the discourse is moved from climate change to climate action and climate management? What are we supposed to do as supporters of innovation, as enablers of innovation, and all those who are in the process of creating new solutions? I strongly believe we have a role to play. It's not all dark. There is possibility, and who can do it? It's you. This conference is all about you all, innovators and creators of new paradigms. It is not about technology, it is about you, the power of the people. So I request Sridhar to come and set the stage to hear our eminent keynote speakers and the panelists on why we are the possible and what we can do. Thank you so much.
About the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
We'll have a first plenary keynote address today, right now. I would like to invite Vinod Telyani, the CFO of Reliance BP Mobility Limited. talking on the energy transition challenge. Vinod, as the CFO on behalf of BP in the Reliance BP joint venture for mobility solutions, Vinod is at the forefront of the energy transition for mobility customers. Their solutions range from traditional petrol, diesel, clean compressed natural gas, compressed biogas, as well as electric charging. Before this, Vinod led the India Gas Solutions, another Reliance BP joint venture, which offered innovative solutions to grow the Indian gas market. And in a career spanning over 3 decades, Vinod has developed and grown businesses with a strong commercial acumen. With BP, he has a rich and varied global experience in oil and gas over 2 decades. Vinod has started working across exploration projects, producing assets, and LNG gas value chain businesses across countries and diverse cultures. Before BP, Vinod specialized in project finance, infrastructure advisory for power, oil and gas, and infrastructure projects with a leading bank in India. Vinod is a mechanical engineer from Mumbai University and an MBA from the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. Vinod?
Really inspired to hear the poem, and really pleased to be here among a lot of people who are, shall we say, building a better tomorrow for all of us. So looking forward to hearing all your success stories. But what I'm here to talk about today is the challenge that Dipanvita alluded to, the challenge of the transitioning the energy system of the world into cleaner forms of energy, and the role that BP is playing in this transition. Before I kind of talk to you about what role BP does, let's for a moment look at what is the nature of this challenge. We all know that while we are all aware of climate change, the carbon budget is really running out. A lot of net zero targets have been announced by various companies, countries. India has said net zero by 2070, or we as BP said 2050 or sooner. But the action, and a lot of action has also been taken place. A lot of policies have been set by the governments across the world. The latest being the Inflation Reduction Act in the US to incentivize more creation of cleaner forms of energy. But the fact is, CO2 emissions have increased every year since Paris, other than 2020, and we all know reason why in 2020, and we hope that never happens again. So the scale of the challenge suggests that greater support, greater ideas, greater innovation is required to make sure that we are able to tackle this challenge and to facilitate, for example, quicker processing, approval of low carbon energy infrastructure. Also, it's very important to realize that this is not something which can be solved at a global level. The challenges and the answers are very specific to each country. For example, if you look at, and we were talking, Satya and I a little while ago, that while oil may have peaked in Europe, oil is yet to peak in India or in any of the growing economies around the world. And the reason for that is we still need to grow the wealth of our people, the per capita income of our people to levels where it becomes comfortable for them. And to be able to do that, access to energy is important. Access to energy which is secure, which is affordable, and which is sustainable. So herein there's a trilemma. It's like a three-legged stool, and as all of us know, unless all the 3 legs of the stool are equal, it will never balance. So that's what the challenge we need to address, and it has to be a just transition. The energy systems of the world are too complex to try and do this as an on-off switch. It's not something, while an individual can choose that, yes, I will change from a petrol car to a EV car tomorrow. But for the globe to actually do that, the amount of investment that will be needed to do that rapidly is just not available. So it has to be a transition which happens over time as a just transition. Also, you need to make sure that you are skilling up people such that they come along with you on this transition and not leaving people behind. So these are some of the thoughts. Especially security has been heightened by the recent geopolitical events, and a lot of focus is now being put on how to reduce import dependence and make sure that you grow and invest your domestic sources of energy. If you see, part of the reason why in India we are focusing on renewable energy is because that's local, and that's true for most countries. Now, how do you capture, utilize that resource, and how do you enable that transition is important. One small thing which we also need to remember is that it's very important while we are doing this to focus also on energy efficiency, because in a way that energy which you save is free energy. If I look at, can I have the next slide please? We in BP, we prepare an energy outlook every year. We look at this from the point of view of trying to plan our own strategies for a range of outcomes that could occur. And we share it widely with everybody. It's available on our website on bp.com. You can download it, download the report, download the tables, all the data. It's quite an intense exercise. But what we try to do here is to look at a range of possible pathways out into the future and how will the energy system change. We've defined these as 3 scenarios: new momentum, accelerated, and net zero. These are not, first of all, I must put the health warning out there, they are not predictions of the future. We don't know what's going to happen, we don't have a crystal ball. We also don't define a base case for precisely that region. We rather look at it, there are a range of possibilities, and what will occur will depend on how all of us, all the stakeholders involved, governments, policymakers, industry, the common people, all of us act on these things. So if I look at new momentum, it is designed to capture the broad trajectory along which we are currently traveling. It looks at and places weight that we have an increased ambition to decarbonize in the recent years, as well as how we are going about decarbonizing and what is our success rate in that. But as seen on the slide, you can see that while carbon emissions for the globe are expected as per this scenario to peak somewhere in the 2020s, by 2050 they are around 30% lower than 2019 levels. Which, if you look at what we are aspiring to as a, 2 degrees C or a 1.5 degrees C target is not enough. Accelerated and net zero are essentially what-if scenarios. So what would you need to believe if you wanted to achieve a 75% reduction or a 95% reduction in the CO2 emissions relative to 2019 levels by 2050? What elements of the energy system might need to change if the world takes collective action through significant tightening in climate policies, as well as, especially for net zero, a shift in societal behaviors and preferences to support the gains in energy efficiency and adopt low carbon energy. So that's what you would need to believe for those scenarios to come about. So with this backdrop, all of us will acknowledge that this is a huge challenge. So how has BP responded to this challenge? Can I have the next slide, please? BP, we announced, and a lot of the people out there are skeptics, and rightfully so. We are an oil and gas company, or have been at least for most of our life, which contributes to the carbon emissions significantly. in 2020, we announced a new purpose, which was to reimagine energy for our people and our planet, supported by a new ambition, which was to be net zero by 2050 or sooner. And this is net zero across our operations, whatever we produce and whatever we sell. So it's not just our operations. So we are in a journey to transform BP to produce energy that's secure, affordable, and increasingly lower carbon. Because, as I said, it cannot happen overnight, while continuing to produce the energy the world needs today. From an international oil company, we are transitioning to an integrated energy company, which focuses on delivering solutions to customers. And we see ourselves playing a key role in helping the world make this transition. We believe there's a need to do both: invest to grow cleaner forms of energy, as well as continue investments to deliver hydrocarbons to meet the growing energy demand of the customers and ensure as smooth a transition as possible. I mean, just as an example, during the UK crisis, you had a relatively small percentage of the global oil and gas production capacity from Russia, which did not find a market, but the prices went through the roof. So that is how fragile the whole commodity markets are in terms of the impact any of these disruptions can have. And when prices went through the roof, it had all kinds of impacts which impacted the lives of all of us. So how do we actually make sure that this transition is as smooth as possible is quite important. As seen on this slide, at BP, we developed a 3-pillar strategy. Resilient hydrocarbons, which says that we will continue to provide the world with the oil and gas that it needs. And which some of you may or may not know, as an extractive industry, I cannot guarantee that I will continue producing the same amount of oil and gas from a field today that I did yesterday. It goes down over time. So just to keep it constant needs continuous investment. In addition to that, demand for energy is growing. And as I said, developing economies continue to demand more oil and gas. The second pillar is convenience and mobility, which is how do you transform the way the whole mobility industry moves towards low carbon, and also in the low carbon energy production business. With 5 transition growth engines around biofuels, convenience, electric charging, renewables and power, and hydrogen. And since 2020, we have made considerable progress, and we have several examples which show that we are headed in the right direction. Lightsource BP, which is a 50% BP company, is a global leader in solar energy, has grown our renewables pipeline to around 25 gigawatts, including 5 gigawatts in offshore wind, where we believe we are uniquely placed to bring our offshore skill sets to play. We are also a large biogas producer in the US today through our acquisition of Archaea Energy, and we are growing our biogas presence across the world. We are leading the development of the Asian Renewable Energy Hub in Western Australia, which will produce 26 gigawatts of wind and solar power, and which could then be used to produce 1.6 million tons of hydrogen or 9 million tons of ammonia, depending on if you want to use it locally or you want to ship it around the world. And just, today if you look at the demand for grey hydrogen in India is about 4 to 5 million tons. So 1.6 million tons will be huge. We are investing in EV charging networks across the world in India, China, Australia, Europe and US, with over 22,000 charging points installed and a target to have over 100,000 by 2030. 3,000 plus of those are in India, and if I look at our plans in India, we could be doing those 100,000 all in India. So as we are delivering and making progress towards our net zero ambition, we are leaning further into our strategy and investing more. Earlier this year, we said it announced that we will invest up to $8 billion more in the transition growth engines by 2030. and another $8 billion in oil and gas by 2030. So it's very much an and strategy, such that we provide the world with the energy it needs today and tomorrow. So some of our beliefs for the energy transition are that as the structure of energy demand changes, share of fossil fuels will decline and will be replaced by a growing share of renewable energy and increasing electrification. What is important is that oil and gas will remain part of the energy mix, and the time horizons by which it will move out or will decline will vary by regions. For example, again, India will see petrol demand, we think, peak by mid-2030s compared to, say, some of the Western world where it probably has already peaked, and diesel demand by late 2030s. So, and this is just peak, it's not that it will disappear. The world will need a range of other energy sources and technology, including low carbon hydrogen, modern bioenergy, and carbon capture, use and storage, some of which we don't have today, especially, or don't have it in a viable form today. So, customers will also redefine mobility as their aspirations grow, their incomes grow, and there's an increasing trend such as shared mobility, autonomous vehicles, which are changing the way we look at mobility and will hopefully bring a cleaner future in the mobility space as well. So turning now to India and India's energy transition challenge. If you can go to the next slide. Probably one more. India, if you look at India, and this is the same chart you saw for the globe for India across the three scenarios. India is 14% of global primary energy consumption today. And given its size, demographics and growth, it will need all forms of energy to meet its needs of its economy. Energy security, affordability and access are the key imperatives as we look to attain energy independence, Atmanirbharta, by 2047 as announced by Mr. Shri Modi. And we have also announced very ambitious climate change targets and, as I said, aim to be net zero by 2070. All of it underpinned by just transition. So a lot of things has been done by India. We have grown our renewable capacity, energy capacity significantly over the last decade, or especially in the last 5 years. We are adding something like up to 40 gigawatts a year of renewable capacity in the best year. And 14 gigawatts a year, for instance, just say 40. And also we are pursuing very aggressively biofuels. We are already at 12% blending of ethanol into petrol with an aim to reach 20% by 2025. We have launched a scheme to increase biogas production from agricultural and municipal solid waste called SATAT. It's a mouthful, it stands for Sustainable Alternative Towards Affordable Transportation. So with these imperatives, we are looking to, actually reduce our carbon emissions. And of course, we are all aware of the National Hydrogen Mission, which has been announced, the green hydrogen policy, and how we are looking to grow the green hydrogen space. But despite all these efforts, if you look at the new momentum scenario, which factors in all of this, and success in all of, and what success we believe is possible in all of this, the carbon emissions for India are set to rise. Even as, and even as per the black dot on the chart is what is the government target by 2030 for carbon emissions. So even if they achieve that, even then it's set to rise, and much more is needed to, shall we say, bend the curve. The pathways for accelerated and net zero could, for example, require a multiple increase in the renewable capacity addition from the current 14 gigawatts, and also a faster growth in biofuels and hydrogen. For example, for net zero, I think from 14 you'll have to grow it to 40 gigawatts a year. So that's again the size of the challenge for India. And why is India not doing more, you could argue. But the point is we are still growing. We still need to pull our people out of poverty. We still need to make sure that everybody has access to energy and the right opportunities. So that's the challenge before the government. If you go to the next slide, please. So this chart kind of talks about the fact, the chart on the left, that in one way of looking at it, the entire global energy demand growth out to 2050 comes from India, because the increases in all the other parts of the world is offset by declines in OECD. So that's how important India is in the energy market, and consequently, in how we are acting on this energy transition challenge. So, with the doubling of energy demand in India, the path to rapid electrification will be key if we have to achieve our climate goals. 75% of growth has to come from electrification, with 50% of India's final energy consumption being electrified by 2047, and largely from renewable clean sources, for us to achieve our climate goals. Also, we'll need to accelerate the build out of low carbon hydrogen, where, what is important is, as we move forward, we put in place schemes where we have demand mandates coupled with the production linked incentives that the government is offering today. Because today it seems to be, yes, you have production linked incentives which promote the production of hydrogen, but there is no demand mandate which goes alongside with it, such that you can keep pushing the technology forward and keep moving towards a place where hydrogen production can become viable and compete with grey hydrogen. So basically, with electrification and a rapid growth in renewables, we could enable a faster reduction in fossil fuel imports, which is the chart on the right hand side. And the share of imported energy could fall from around a third now to around a tenth by 2047. But as you can see, fossil fuels will still be needed to meet the energy needs in India, with natural gas almost riding threefold between 2019 and 2047. Of course, it's cleaner than coal, 50% cleaner. And coal demand rising around 15% and oil by 20%. So, really speaking, we will, as I said before, need all forms of energy, and all of them will grow while we address this challenge. And what we need, therefore, is investment in fossil fuels and investment in low carbon energy. And fossil fuels, if we can make carbon capture and storage viable, will be key to help India deliver its goal of net zero by 2070. I don't know how I'm doing on time, but okay, I'll try and wrap it up quickly. Very quickly, if I move to the next slide. In India as well, we as BP are participating across all our strategic pillars and transition growth engines. We are, producing gas in partnership with Reliance offshore the east coast of India. Currently our production is about a third of the domestic production in the country. We meet 15% of India's gas demand through our domestic production. We have, and I'll just pull out some highlights rather than going through in detail. At GOBP, the brand for Reliance BP Mobility Limited, we have launched an additivized diesel which offers 4.3% increased fuel efficiency as per our claim, which has been verified and tested. In real practice, we are seeing people achieve even higher fuel efficiency, which again helps reduce the emissions to that extent. And this is being offered not as a premium advertised fuel, but as the normal fuel at the normal pump price. We are also invested in the Green Growth Equity Fund of the Government of India. We've contributed 70 million to that fund, and through that we are growing our presence in the renewables and the low carbon space. Collaboration is actually the need of the hour. With we needing collaborations between industry, policymakers and academia to encourage this transition, and of course, innovators like you. At PP we are, looking at working with several academic institutions, IIT Bombay, on a program on defining pathways to transition heavy industry, the hard-to-abate sectors of steel, cement, etc., to low carbon or a lower carbon future. Identifying opportunities in the renewable energy value chain in partnership with IIM Ahmedabad. Building an industry, academia, government research consortium in support of energy transition with IIT Delhi, and funding the Council on Energy, Environment and Water to do a techno-economic analysis to help build a regulated carbon market in India. And before I close, we also have a ventures arm which was established more than 10 years ago and has invested over $1 billion in 65 companies, over 65 companies, with around 40 currently active in our portfolio. What is different is we are often both the investor and end user of the technologies that we invest in. We invest in funding rounds right from seed to late stage growth. I don't understand these terms, so you guys probably do better than me. And we focus our efforts currently on carbon management, advanced mobility, power and storage, bio and low carbon products, intelligent commodities and digital transformation. Couple of examples, one of our companies, Sea Capture, has patented a unique solvent-based technology which offers a safe, low-cost way to remove carbon dioxide from emissions using a post-combustion capture approach. And FreeWire has developed a powerful battery-integrated ultra-fast DC charger for EVs, which can be set up without costly construction within 2 hours of downtime at a forecourt. And in India, we have invested in two companies, Blue Smart, a EV passenger ride-hailing fleet, and Magenta, a three-wheeler freight movement company in this space, in the advanced mobility space, and are also supporting them by providing them with access to charging through Reliance BP Mobility Limited. So that gives you an overview of how we are working with India. In summary, I would say I believe India is uniquely positioned to make this transition to cleaner energy with all our efforts, while continuing to provide affordable energy for upliftment and development of our people. And we are proud to partner India on this journey, bringing our experience, technology and global scale. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
It is my pleasure now to introduce the next speaker, who's going to talk about democratizing access. I would like to welcome Sharad Sharma. Sharad Sharma co-founded the iSpirit Foundation, a non-profit technology think tank that has been conceptualizing the India Stack, Health Stack, and other digital public goods. Sharad also co-founded Teltier Technologies, a wireless infrastructure startup, now part of Cisco. And he's an active angel investor with over 24 investments. He's also instrumental in the success of India's first IP-focused fund, the India Innovation Fund. Sharad is a member of the National Startup Advisory Council, SEBI's Financial, Regulatory and Technology Committee. He chairs the IFSCA's Expert Committee on Asset Tokenization and is a member of UN AI Advisory Body. An alumnus of Delhi College of Engineering, he previously held R&D leadership positions at Yahoo, Veritas, Symantec, Lucent and AT&T. Sharad, also happy to introduce him as my mentor. So Sharad, one of my mentors, please welcome.
Thank you, Vinod, for that wonderful presentation. You know, obviously our defining challenge of this era is climate and climate change, and you know, what do we do to deal with it? And perhaps, you know, you could say the other defining element that will drive change in our lives is AI. So I'm going to do something rather crazy. This is a presentation I'm sharing with you, which I shared. So the Government of India set up an AI committee, which had its first meeting today, right? And it's chaired by Dr. Rajesh Sood, who Dipanvita, you know very well, our principal scientific advisor. So I'm actually going to share with you some of the slides from there. Why am I doing this? Because I want to give you a sense of the pathway that India can change to become a meaningful player in a new area like AI. And of course, this has strong kind of intersection with health and healthcare, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So first is, you know, everybody in the world will be a user of AI. There's no doubt about it. The question that we have is, will we be a producer of AI? Do you know, can anybody shout out a neighboring country's name, a neighboring country, which doesn't have a mobile operator? Everybody has a mobile operator. There are hundreds of countries that have mobile operators, right? Jio is one of the world's best mobile operators. But the fact is that how many suppliers are there to those mobile operators? They're called HENs: Huawei, Ericsson, Nokia and Samsung. 4 companies supply to all of them. Do you know of a country which doesn't have an airline? Everybody has an airline, 1 or 2 or many. You know, Boeing and Airbus make more money than all the airlines put together. And this is not surprising, I could go on and on. So the question here is not whether India will consume AI, which of course it will. The question is, will India create AI models, produce AI models as it goes forward? Can we be like what we have done in space? Can we be one of the 5 countries in the world that can send satellites to space? Do you know how many countries have sent satellites to space? 60 countries. But those 60 countries have used the capability of those 5 countries to send the satellites to space. So are we going to be in those 50 or are we going to be in those 5? That's the question even for AI. Now some countries are small, they've given up. They say we'll be happy being a consumer. Let's just slow down the use of AI so that we can make sure that our citizens are well protected. That's the first camp that you see. Pause AI camp. Right? Very reasonable approach. Second is saying, ye bahut mushkil hai. You know, let us set up a BHEL or a Maruti type institution that will do it for us. Do you think that's a good idea? How many of you think by show of hands that's a good idea? I see 1 hand going up, 2 hands going up. I am not in that camp. Right? Because I don't think that is the path forward as well. What is the path forward is to empower our startups to be able to compete. Because even China does not, for heaven's sake, believe in that BHEL Maruti model. Do you know, when it came to telecom, I mentioned Huawei a little while back. Huawei was formed 31 months after CDOT. Did they form it as a government company? No. In fact, was Huawei a natural winner? No. Till recently it was ZTE and others. Even China back in time, when we thought we must go for a national champion approach, they said our job is to create many companies, the market will decide who the winner will be. At that time it was not clear it was going to be Huawei and ZTE. So if a communist nation is not willing to follow that approach, this is not an approach that's worked for us. You know, it's not an approach that will work even again in the future. So the question is, we have to create an ecosystem. The problem that we face when you define this as an ecosystem problem, which is the discussion that we have in IKP all the time, is that our conviction that we can create an ecosystem that will produce a circle of 5 winners. In other words, there'll be only 5 companies in the world that will be meaningful players, and one of those 5 companies will be an Indian company. For that, you need to create an ecosystem. Because, for example, if there was only TCS doing IT services, would TCS be successful? No. Success of TCS required that there were Infosys and Wipro and Tech Mahindra and others nipping at their heels. This helped everybody be more successful. Is that not right? So you need an ecosystem to create a national champion. So the question then comes up is, our track record in India for creating national champions is not very good using the ecosystem approach. So therefore people shrivel away from this exercise. And why do I bring it up is because the role of IKP is to actually be a player in building the ecosystem. So one of the things that we tell them is that, look, we built an ecosystem around India Stack, as many of you know. What are the repeatable learnings that have come from there? One of which is have a clear vision very early. What is that clear vision in the item number 1? Some of you may know this slide. It's called the Rajni slide. It's a very famous slide now, but it's there from 2013. So from 2013, 10 years ago, this slide is a 2013 slide. From 2013, 10 years ago, there were 2 claims that you could make, saying that first, we will solve it for Rajni, the street vendor that you see there, but we'll do it in a way that's a jugalbandi between public infrastructure and private innovation. Right? And that public infrastructure that you need was known 10 years ago. Then you spent 10 years, a bunch of misfit volunteers building that public infrastructure, 1 item a year, just relentlessly going on without government funding and gifting it away to the government. All the items that you see have come up like that. So it needs sustained effort over 10 years. Third, you couldn't do it on your own. We have not done it before. So if you had to build a platform like Aadhaar, we had never built a platform, but you know what? GPS had been built, so there was something to learn as to how do you create a platform that's free to use for people and has transformational, what can we learn from them? If you have to build a protocol, UPI, I'm sure everybody here uses UPI. UPI at its core is a protocol. And that protocol that if you have to build, you have to learn from people who had already built those protocols before. You know who are the people who built those protocols before? If you use the email, you use a protocol called SMTP. If you use internet, you use a protocol called HTTP. All of which also uses another protocol called TCP/IP. P. All these P's are protocols. Who built them? An organization called IETF. Who owns IETF? How many employees does it have? None. All volunteers. Believe it or not, right? So then we had to learn from that. If you learn something and you give it away, that is the best way to know your learning is actually meaningful. This item that you see in 4th is a table that we released in 2017. We must have hosted at least 40 foreign teams coming to Bangalore to spend a day or 2, in some cases longer, to just do workshops on this table. So what does it do? It gives you the knowledge of those 40 people. And your knowledge becomes much better. Teaching is the best way to learn. Then you have to pick fights. I am a big believer in Panga entrepreneurship or Panga ecosystem creating. Because that Panga, how many of you know Panga word? If you don't take Panga, you're not going to do anything at all. Because how can you be in circle of 5 if you're not thinking of Panga? It is a Panga by definition. Right? So if you have to take Panga. This Panga that landed in our laps was the one with Facebook. Facebook wanted to bring something here called free basics. I'm not going to go into the detail. You know, we were the 27th country that they came to. 26 countries had approved. And we took a Panga with them. And then, of course, that became the creator of learning that allowed us to today do 3 open networks. Open network for credit, open network for commerce, open network for health. And then finally, once you're at it, then you begin to then have sedimentation that takes place. You begin to realize that there is a deeper version of this. You know, how many of you do yoga here? Many hands are going up. When you mean yoga, you all mostly mean yogasana. 84 asanas that are there. How many of you practice Yoga Sutra? I don't see a single hand going up. Did I miss anybody? No. Yoga Sutra is more important than Yogasana. That is true yoga. That's how you live your life. But that Yoga Sutra is a sedimented form of yoga. That's the key part that is there. So now there is the sedimentation that has taken place. Things like techno-legal regulation, right? Things like somebody must own ecosystem building for 10, 15 years. These are ideas that have sedimented, which are now in a position to then be applied somewhere else. Because many of those asanas won't travel to new ecosystems, but the sutras will travel to new ecosystems. And there, the big learning is that the government cannot be the sutradhar for the ecosystem. Why? Because the minister will change, the bureaucrat will change. It is not possible. It can be a university. In driverless cars, that's the Carnegie Mellon University. And slowly our universities are beginning to move in that direction. But sadly, there's some work to be done. It can be labs. CSIR labs could be like that. But look, a lot of the work that you talked about happens because of one of the co-founders of IKP, Dr. Ramesh Mashelkar. He himself will tell you